today, as we always do. I'm not sure how long the show will go, but we'll cover the news because there's a lot to talk about, obviously. But I just also want people to feel like they can come up and talk about what they're thankful for. And I think that's the ultimate exercise, because if we lose the sense of self and the sense of being able to be grateful for things and thankful for things, then that's the whole argument that the right wants to kind of push on us in regards to the dissolving of humanity. So I just want to make sure that we're keeping that front and center today. And now, like I said, I'm in a unique position. I'll be by myself today, which is no big deal. But lots of family dynamics. There's a lot of people that are going to be, with these interesting looks across the dinner table today. So just keep in mind, you're not obligated to engage. You're not obligated to do anything other than protect your own particular peace. So as we go through the day today, let's keep that in mind. I know people are going to be watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which is a pretty cool thing. I was very fortunate to be able to go to a couple of those in my life. If you've never experienced that, please, please, please do that, because that is one of those things that is just uniquely American, and it's a really cool event. I know there's going to be a lot of football being watched today. That's my plan. Feet up on the couch, some Chinese food and some football. That's my plan later today. People are cooking. People are just tuning in. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate you guys very, very much. And that got me thinking about I played the intro, the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving music, and something that I'm thankful for. I remember I didn't have a TV in my house when I was a kid until I was about 10 or 11 years old. So I always remember, you go to Nana's house or whatever, and you'd watch the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, or you'd watch Rudolph, or you'd watch, The Great Pumpkin, all these little things that I think I took for granted then, that thankfully my kids were into, because I made it part of their childhood to experience those kinds of things. So those are little things, little memories. This is not my favorite time of the year. Sadly, a lot of loss for me this time of the year, but I've tried to rewrite the script and just kind of remember that there's always something to be grateful for. So let's keep that in mind as we go through the course of the day today. So again, thank you all for being here, and maybe reach out to someone that you've not had conversations with in a long time. In the traditional, or in the purest sense of do something, maybe you're doing something today could just be reaching out to an old friend or someone who, you've lost touch with, because, we only have a certain allotted days on this rock, and don't live your life with regret. So maybe do that. So thank you. All right, let's talk about, the events that happened in D.C. last night. In case you're just waking up today, 2 National Guard members from West Virginia who were deployed in D.C. were shot in a targeted ambush just blocks in the White House. The attack happened near 17th and I Street Northwest, near the Farragut West Metro Station, not far from the White House. If you've ever been to D.C., you know exactly where that is. A lone person approached, opened fire, and at least 10 to 15 rounds were fired. Both guardsmen were hit and are in critical condition, while the suspect was also hit and taken into custody. Now, there was initial reporting, and this is the problem in our news cycle. The West Virginia governor had come out and made a statement that they had lost their lives. Kash Patel had made a statement talking about they were going to use all the power of the United States government and law enforcement to apprehend this individual, while that individual was already in custody, proving once again that Kash Patel and the FBI is just incompetently led, and it's going to cost him his job, because every single day he just makes another mistake. Kash just thinks it's cool to cosplay as the FBI director. We're going to get into that story in just a little bit, but the suspect has been identified. I will not use the name, because in our tradition here, we tend to focus on the actions and the survivors of this case, without giving any name to the people, the persons and or persons involved in the actual crime, because it still speaks to the firearm epidemic that is in our country. And I would just like to point something out. 2 West Virginia National Guard members should not have been there to begin with. Plain and simple. They should just not have been there to begin with. This incident would not have happened if that weren't the case. The suspect has been identified as a 29-year-old Afghan national who entered the U.S. in 2021 under the Operation Allies Welcome program. We're going to talk about what that is in just a moment. Authorities describe the shooting as calculated, intentional, and targeted. We've already heard from the president, so I think I will play the sound just because we're trying to cover the story as we do here. He made a statement last night, and this is it.
He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival.
So if you had just heard that statement for the first time, you'd be like, what the hell is going on? So let's unpack what Operation Allies Welcome program actually is. Okay, hang on one second. Operation Allies Welcome was established on August 29th, 2021, when the Department of DHS was the designated lead agency to coordinate resettling vulnerable Afghans, especially those who had worked alongside U.S. forces or diplomats into the U.S. as the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan. The folks that were part of this were assisting the United States military occupation of Afghanistan. They were translators. They were, ambassadors helping negotiate and coordinate between the various warring factions in that country. This was a program, a humanitarian program, established to provide aid and comfort to people who supported us, unlike what the Trump administration did by pulling troops out of Turkey and then leaving our Kurdish allies just to hang. But anyway, the program was meant to provide more than just admission. It entailed a, quote, whole of government approach, mobilizing federal agencies, state, local governments, NGOs, and private sponsors to offer safe havens, initial housing, immigration processing, health screening, including C-19, and other support for evacuees and their families. Between mid-2021 and early 2022, tens of thousands of Afghan evacuees were paroled into the U.S. under OAW. Many have since had opportunities to apply for asylum, permanent immigrant visas, or for eligible immigration statuses. For those arriving under OAW, the U.S. provided support, including temporary health care, employment authorization, language education services for children, and integration assistance, reflecting a humanitarian commitment by the government. In short, the OAW was resettlement program created in response to the Afghanistan evacuation, intended to provide refugee and support to Afghan allies and those at risk. The suspect yesterday was reportedly an Afghan national who entered the U.S. under Operation Allies Welcome in 2021, which has placed OAW at the center of renewed immigration and vetting debates. That association has triggered intense political scrutiny of OAW from the current administration and lawmakers, with calls for a full review of immigrants admitted under the program, pointing to concerns about possible security gaps. Here's the timeline. After the fall of Kabul, the Biden administration launches Operation Allies Welcome. DHS is designated the lead coordinating agency. The goal would be to resettle Afghans who worked with the U.S. military or otherwise faced risk. Under Taliban rule, over 76,000 Afghans are evacuated and admitted through humanitarian parole. From September to December 2021, Afghans transported to 8 U.S. military bases for vetting, unlike what the president said in his statement last night, for vetting, health checks, C-19 protocols, and immigration processing. Federal agencies plus NGOs support housing, schooling, employment, and medical care. Refugee and resettlement agencies report being overwhelmed but continue to onboard. From 2022 to transition and long-term processing, major U.S. bases wind down temporary housing. Afghans shift into humanitarian parole, special immigrant visa processing, asylum applications. Advocacy groups warn that thousands still face bureaucratic backlogs. Congressional efforts begin pushing for the Afghan Adjustment Act, which does not pass. In 2023, several watchdog and oversight reports criticized the speed of vetting. During the initial evacuation, intelligence and DHS inspectors generally identify some discrepancies in screening, though no systemic failure is declared. Political tension grows around additional Afghan visas and parole extensions. OAW continues from 2024 through the policy slowdown, but with much slower admission volume. Renewed debate in Congress about whether all Afghan parolees should be offered permanent status. DHS extends benefits such as work authorization for existing parolees. And then in November, we know what happened yesterday. By the way, this individual, their asylum claim was granted in April of this year under the Trump administration. I think it's an important point to point out, right, that this program was set up as a humanitarian aid in support of people, allies, people on the ground in Afghanistan who are helping the American military against the Taliban. They served in a variety of functions. That's what this program was. This was a humanitarian aid program. This person, this alleged person who was involved in this yesterday, this horrible crime, gun violence in America, let's not forget that. His asylum process, his asylum application was approved under the Trump administration in April of this year. Remember, don't let people gaslight you, because that's what they're going to try to do. He was admitted, his asylum process was approved the April of this year. Those are the facts in this case. Do not let people gaslight you, because it's already started. I heard it last night. They're already going to try to run with this. And the president's rhetoric is the most harmful, because he's the one, as we discussed yesterday, and I'm going to try to finish off what we were discussing yesterday before the live got taken down. But that's what's happened here. Okay, so a little bit more detail on this. The suspect was, here's what we know. Entered the U.S. in 2021. Multiple law enforcement sources told CBS News yesterday. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said that the suspect was paroled into the U.S. on September the 8th, 2021, under a Biden-era program for Afghan nationals called Operation Allies Welcome. President Trump described him as a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He said the suspect's status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden. Let's learn the truth. DHS security official told CBS the suspect was paroled into the U.S. on humanitarian grounds back in 2021. That was the main legal mechanism the Biden administration used to welcome tens of thousands of Afghan evacuees after the Taliban takeover in August of 2021. The alleged person later applied for asylum with U.S. citizenship and immigration services in 2024, and his application was granted in April of this year, the DHS official said, but his request for a green card, which is tied to the asylum, is still pending. He was granted asylum. He went through the process the right way, the legal way, the lawful way. He was extended humanitarian aid, a humanitarian outlet out of that country. People who've served in Afghanistan in particular would attest to the fact that they could not have done their job without many of the people who were able to take advantage of this program. Again, this person's asylum claim was granted under the Trump administration in April of this year. They are still going to try to blame everyone, other than the fact that this is an epidemic of gun violence in our country. And because of the change in policy regarding OAW, we don't know a motive yet. And I'm not gonna go out on a limb and project a motive, other than to say West Virginia National Guard members should not have been in DC. And now there's going to be 500 more, even though a judge just said days ago that what you're doing is illegal. Those two National Guard members would not have been shot if they were not there. We don't know a motive. We don't have a motive yet. But again, the facts of this case are applied for asylum in 2024, granted asylum in April of this year under the Trump administration, under their DHS, under their immigration program. Period. That's how it worked. So and now there's going to be more scrutiny. Now there's going to be more violence. Now there's going to be more rhetoric. Now we're going to blame more people, because this is what fucking fascists do. Everybody else is responsible except them. Everybody. Yes, exactly. Granted asylum this year. So when you're having these conversations, whether it be over a turkey leg today or turducken, or in my family, it was, if you're Italian, you know what baccalà is, not to be confused with baklava, but baccalà, which is like salt cod that's reconstituted in milk served with capers and olives and not a marinara sauce, but a thin tomato sauce. Usually only served on Christmas Eve, but I would get it on because I loved it so much. Myself and my dad just loved it. So it was made for us special on Thanksgiving Day. So we had that along with everything else. If you grow up Italian, pasta is like the side dish for everything. So that was a great memory for me. So if you're arguing with your family today over your bacala, Feast of the Seven Fishes, exactly. If you're arguing with your family over bacala today, just remind them that this person was granted asylum under the Trump administration. So facts are hard. All right. Let's get into some more news. I'm sure we'll cover off on that. I'm sure we'll know more. The rhetoric is spinning out of control. Just an attempt to blame more immigrants, more migrants, more calling more and more people illegal. We'll see it every single day. There's a few things that I wanted to finish the little exercise that we did yesterday when we were talking about how MAGA broke humanity, and I think we're seeing more and more examples of it. By the way, if you want to support the channel, best way to do that. I know we're on the backup today, so friends helping us get out to the FYP. If you guys could really help us, I know today's going to be a weird day. So I look at us as we're the family sitting over the dinner table today. We're the ones that are walking around the house in our pajamas, try to decide like how much breakfast do you eat so you can fill your face later in the day, right? You want to stretch your stomach. How much do you want to stretch it? So we're all here together. So let's invite more people. So tapping is clapping, liking is loving, sharing is caring. We are streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Twitch. Thank you guys very much. If you guys have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel and to Twitch, please consider doing that. I would appreciate it a great deal. Thank you very much. All right, let me just check in over here real quick. Okay. All right. Thank you for Nan. Nan. Thank you, Nan, for your $2 on Cash App. Happy Thanksgiving, Steve. You're welcome. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you guys for being here. So we were talking about yesterday about how the connections to rhetoric and a lot of the language that comes from the MAGA movement is contradictory to what they claim to stand for. They stand on religious principles, they stand on family values, and yet in practice, they certainly don't exercise that. So I want to kind of finish up where we were and then give you some examples of the other stuff that we were talking about. So before I do that, I think I've got a request. Okay. Good morning. How are you? Okay. What's on your mind? You can unmute.
So,
Good morning.
just says happy Thanksgiving. I just want to tell you happy Thanksgiving. What am I thankful for? In
Yeah.
03, I got ran over on a motorcycle, left for dead, 7 days on life support, 180 days in ICU. I'm just thankful for life. I realize life can be taken in a moment. So every minute, I'm so thankful for it.
That's a great thing to be thankful for. Keeps things in perspective. How you feeling these days? Everything going okay?
Yeah, everything's going good, man. I got my health back. I do have one lung, so I do wheeze, but I am thankful that I'm alive. I get to watch my kids get raised. I have grandkids, and I'm just enjoying every day. It comes and
I
goes.
love to hear that.
So
I love to hear that.
So you have a
Thank you for
great
sharing.
day. Thank you
You
for
too.
your time, and have a great day, brother.
Thank you. You too. I appreciate you saying that. Thanks a lot for being here. I appreciate it. All right. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning. How are you, Steve?
I'm good. I'm thankful for you for being here. How's it going?
I'm grateful for you. I just wanted to say I'm grateful because it's my birthday.
Well, happy birthday to you. Hearts in the chat, balloons in the chat, whatever you got in the chat for our friend Heather celebrating her birthday today. 29 again, right?
Yeah, 29 again. Not a day over, not a day over 29. That's right.
That's right. That's right. Is that what you're? Is that what you're thankful? What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for a lot of things. I'm thankful for my husband. I worked last night, so I woke up to some fresh made coffee and a steak dinner, and right before that was all before work, and then he bought me a gyro to take with me to work and some cheesecake to take with me to work. So I'm thankful for my husband who spoils me because he always makes me feel very special on my birthday.
I love that. I love that very, very much. It's a good man doing some good stuff. I appreciate that. And thanks for sharing that story with us, Heather.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me up, Steve. What are you thankful for?
What am I thankful for?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you asked that question. There's so many things that I am thankful for, and I'll go through the list today. To be honest, I am really thankful for this community. I had no idea when we started doing this years ago that it would become as important as it is to people, and I take that very seriously, and it fills me with pride. So I'm thankful for all of you for showing up here every day and supporting what we do here, and pushing the envelope of decency and making sure that kindness wins. Those are the kinds of things that I'm thankful for.
Yeah, I'm thankful for that too. I spreading the joy, feeling the joy today. That's what I'm thankful for. It's nice to feel the support of the community. Like sometimes, with everything that goes on, it feels overwhelming sometimes. But then when I come into, Facts family, it feels like I'm never alone with how I feel when things get hard and stressful. Even though sometimes I'm like, that's it, we're cooked. It's always brought back to reality that we're not cooked, because people like you and even me are fighting every day to make things better. So
that is very well said. That should put fuel in everybody's tank for today. If you got your boomer grandpa who's got his red hat on and he's screaming, then you could just hold on to that joy, keep it in your pocket, save it for later. I appreciate you saying that, Heather. Thank you so very, very much, friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a great day, Steve.
You too. See you later. That's great. I love those kinds of stories. And then little things. So this particular date, this time, let's see, 13 years ago, my daughter was in the hospital. She had just had surgery. She had just had her kidney removed. She had just started her chemotherapy treatments because she was diagnosed with cancer 2 days before Thanksgiving. And, that's where my life was at this particular time. So I'm thankful every single day, obviously, that she's still here, of course. But these little things, that's why things don't bother me as much as they might bother other people, just because of what we've been through as a family. And my boys acknowledged that this morning, and it was great to hear from them. So, yeah, so there's plenty to be grateful for. We feel like we have an obligation. I asked the mods last night about what should we do today? And the general tenor was, let's be sure that we're reminding folks that there's a lot of things that we can be thankful for. We will still cover the news. We'll still talk about the things that are important. We may not do a 4-hour show today, depending on how it goes, but just keep those things in mind, right? As you're navigating the day today, always find something. We all want healthcare for everybody. We don't want to be fighting over food. Today is a day of gluttony, and keep in mind, right, that there's always opportunities to help. I know that people use the Thanksgiving holiday and the holiday seasons in general to either volunteer at food banks or community programs. Maybe extend that beyond just today. Like extend that to days when it wouldn't normally happen, volunteering, for example, or going to a houseless shelter, or going to a shelter in particular that specializes in supporting women who are victims of domestic violence, things like that. These are things that we can all do every single day. And the one thing that I hope, for those of you that are just finding me here, hello, I'm Steve. You can call me Facts. We go live every Monday through Friday, 8 till noon Eastern time. What I hope in the whole spirit of doing something, if that's one thing that resonates with people when they watch our show, do something can take on many, many forms. Doing something could be, just volunteering, just doing something different, changing a habit so that you can influence the lives of people in a positive way, because we have a lot of things we have to do. and we can do things, small things. I firmly believe in the pebble in the pond theory, right? You drop it, that ring just expands. Start with just a simple action, and then that ring expands, and we influence more lives, and we do more things to help people. So somebody just said they're thankful for green bean casserole. You can keep your green bean casserole. I appreciate you saying that. But anyway, so thank you all for that. I appreciate it. Okay, I do want to just kind of finish this conversation we had yesterday, just in regards to the contradictions that exist within the MAGA movement. Just because there's a few things that I wanted to make sure that we close the loop on. And I was almost done, but I added something. So we were talking about messaging, how the internal factions inside the group, the contradiction within the MAGA movement connected to family values. So there's the Christian nationalist wing, there's the economic nationalists, those people that believe that tariffs are the answer to everything, and we certainly know that they're not. There's the anti-system libertarians, which to me is always an amazing group. Like, I can't see how any libertarian would ever support anybody or anything within the Trump administration from a policy perspective. Legacy GOP politicians and donors, which I think that group right now are the ones that are kind of pushing back a lot. We're going to talk about this massive potential resignation that might be coming down the pipe for Mike Johnson in the Republican caucus. We're going to talk about that in a little bit because it relates to what I just shared with you. And then the online new right, like meme warriors, that whole group. That was, that's the Nick Fuentes, the Ben Shapiro crowd, and others. How the contradictions of the things that they were promised now doesn't necessarily align with what they were hoping. So then the messaging thing, we discussed this in the past about how the messaging is simple: make America great again, build the wall, stop the steal, lock her up, fuck Joe Biden, all this kind of stuff. Short, easy to chant, memes, print on a hat. It's vague enough that different people can have their own interpretation by design, and it's emotionally loaded. When people chant it, right? Stop the steal, lock her up, fuck Joe Biden, it becomes emotional, becomes like a tribal. It literally becomes chanting, and it becomes something that galvanizes people, right? Friend-enemy framing. MAGA speech constantly divides real Americans versus globalists. If you are in opposition to the MAGA movement, how could you be against making America great again? It becomes this divisive language, which is obviously proven to be true. Globalists, rhinos, radical left, thugs, Antifa, anti-democracy. Yeah, exactly, Francis. It's like sports cheers, right? So that's part of the divide. So if you are in opposition to the MAGA movement, then you're considered radical. Hashtag I am radical. Things like that are galvanizing. They're powerful, and they prey on people's emotion, right? We often talk about how there's this theory that the greatest things in life are oftentimes on the other side of the door of fear, right? Think about it. Think about the things that we're not afraid of the spider. We're afraid of the thought of the spider. That kind of, that's they being the leadership within the MAGA movement, they sort of jump on that train. We are going to tell people to be afraid of things that they don't even need to be afraid of, but we're going to remind them over and over and over and over and over again as to why they should be afraid of it. And it works. When you're talking about emotional messaging, it's hard to break through that because you appeal to somebody's sort of animalistic emotional tendencies, and facts or evidence or science doesn't break through. That's powerful, and it's hard for us to kind of get through that. It's hard to get through that messaging, but that's why it's so effective. Good morning, Harlem. How are you today?
Hey, brother, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Hey, first thing I wanted to say to you, and I've been wanting to say this to you since it happened, back with the whole CK thing.
Yeah.
I love the way you handled it. Everyone else were fleeing. They were backtracking. They were afraid to say anything. You handled it perfectly. You stayed you. I appreciate that. And what that did was that empowered people who were afraid to say anything on TikTok to speak out. You had a lot of people afraid to say things, and because of that retribution, they twist everything. Second of all,
thank you.
Not a problem. You stayed you. I loved it. Second of all, you banned me inadvertently from your
I
original.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It happened.
It
I'm so
was
sorry,
something
man.
going on. Yeah, you were upset that day, and it was about the women. And you were like, "I'm not, we're not going to take anything this today. We're going to, if you get on my nerves, we're going to ban you," or something like similar to that. It wasn't an exact quote, but you were playing a video of Trump, and I said that dude. This dude lies about everything. I think you thought I was talking about you or one of your mods, and you all banned me. I'm like, what the hell?
I'm sorry about that. Friendly fire sometimes.
And we were
just
mutual
followed you here.
friends.
I got you, bro. I'm really sorry about that. I followed you here. I'll make sure I'll go through the list, and if that's the case, I'll make sure I pull you. I know we've spoken before. I'm really sorry about that. We'll certainly check on it, though. It happens.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I've been watching you but I went to YouTube. I've been watching you on YouTube, but you can't really interact on YouTube the same way. But again, if you can, you can. If you can't, it's fine. But I just wanted to give you those props, man. I mean, from Dean, all of them, they were shining off. You stayed true. I loved it. So
Thanks.
Keep up the
I
good
appreciate
work,
that.
my brother.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. I appreciate you very
You
much.
as well. All right,
Thanks.
bye.
See you later. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's a great compliment. I really appreciate that. We don't know that sometimes, what we're doing. We just try to be consistent here. That's been our commitment from the very, very beginning. And I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, hello. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I just wanted to shout out to Hark the Harlot that's on here with us. She's a member of our family. She made Thanksgiving possible for my family. I don't want to cry. And I'm going to cry. I don't mean to. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize.
And she also made my granddaughter her 5th birthday possible. So it was the time that we didn't have SNAP, and she carried us through, and we were able to have a cake. My granddaughter has food issues, so she wouldn't eat. She doesn't eat cake. She eats brownies. So we were able to get her brownies, and we were able to do a little something for my granddaughter. And so shout out to, she's probably not on today because listening because she has family, and but she's an amazing member of our family, and I'm thankful for you guys because y'all are family to me. As I said before, I lost my best friend because of all of the politics stuff, and I live 1,000 miles away from my family. So I'm thankful for y'all, and I'm especially thankful that we were able to do Thanksgiving this year.
We are too. We certainly are too. I know that when we spoke, we've got a wish list for yourself and your family that we're working on.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can extend your joy of being able to celebrate this particular day with a holiday in the future. So we got you, friend. We got you.
I love you guys. I don't know how we would make it without y'all. Y'all are my family.
Feelings mutual. Like I said before, once you join our little family, we are like gum on your shoe. You're not going to get rid of us. So take it or leave it.
Well, y'all have a happy holiday. I'm on because I'm just cooking and hanging around the kitchen and doing stuff that I can do. I'm unfortunately recovering from surgery, but my daughter's helping, so we're going to have a good day.
You are going to have a good day, and we're going to celebrate it with you. Indirectly from all across the globe. So, Amy Lee, thank you for being here. And like I said, we're working on something for you and your family, and we got you. Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We love you. See you later. Have a good day.
Okay. Love y'all. Bye.
All right. Bye. We've more to come. We met Amy Lee relatively recently, and our community does what our community does, and we we're gonna do what we can with your support and our support collectively, and we'll hopefully make this particular holiday season a little bit brighter. One person at a time. That's our goal. That's our mission. That's what we do. So thank you all. Okay. Again, I kind of want to finish this particular section just to kind of complete the loop. Then we'll go back and we'll talk about some other news. And throughout the morning, please come in and tell us what you're thankful for. There's so much. There is so much that we should all be thankful for. Health, being together. This year's been a little weird because my boys are both with their girlfriends. So my daughter's doing something with her mom. So it'll be an interesting day. I'm totally good. As an only child, I spent a lot of my youth traveling across the country. So I spent many holidays by myself, which is no big deal. But today's going to be interesting, right? So I'm gonna have Chinese food. I'm gonna have football. I'm gonna take the dog for a walk. I'm not gonna do any work. I'm just gonna chill and have a good day. So if that's what's on your figurative and literal plate today, then good for you. So thanks for being here. Okay. The friend enemy framing again. If you are anti-MAGA, you are considered a threat. Once politics is cast as a war between incompatible groups, then compromise becomes betrayal. How many times have we discussed this, right? Institutions that check the leader, courts, media, elections, science, anybody who checks the leader are portrayed as enemies, not neutral arbiters. Straight from the populist playbook, fascist playbook. Typical pattern of prosecution narrative and projection. Claim the other side is doing what you or your allies are actually doing. Undermining elections while shouting about election integrity. Spreading disinformation while screaming fake news. See it every single day. Projection does two things at once. Confuses outside observers who's actually doing what. Again, that's by design. The entire thing is meant to distract and evade, so to speak. Gives believers a moral frame where their side is always on defense. Trolling, cruelty, and humor. Nicknames, insults, owning the libs are not side effects, they're core techniques. They build in group bonding. We're laughing together at them. We are owning the libs. We are calling Antifa a terrorist organization. We are saying colleges and universities are indoctrinating your children. Things like that. They become part of something. Community. So they're creating this strange authoritarian community, but it's powerful. If we lose, the country is finished. They build in-group bonding. We're laughing together at them. They dehumanize opponents, making extreme policies or even violence feel more acceptable. They let leaders and influencers say extreme things and retreat with it was just a joke, right? Taken out of context, right? That's not what he meant. Now he's just trolling, right? So when it's them, they'll justify it in any way possible because it's part of the overall indoctrination of messaging. You too, Hector. Good to see you, friend. That becomes the lifeblood of the movement. It doesn't matter what our leader does, even if it's the things that they complain about the loudest, because he's owning the libs or he's standing up for us or it's us versus them. It's dangerous. They let leaders and influencers say extreme things, then retreat with was just a joke. The blend of politics and entertainment makes outrage addictive. Donald Trump is a entertainer. That's what he is. They galvanize to the messaging because they feel like they're part of something. I can be objective. I can give him credit because he's unlike any politician that I've ever seen and hopefully ever see again. The ability to galvanize people around hatred is something that, I never want to see again, ever. But he was effective. Short, singular, aggressive, emotional-driven messaging intended to elicit response. And oftentimes that response is anger, right? Oftentimes we see it manifest in a variety of ways, but anger, cruelty, right? Yeah, Reagan was an entertainer too, but in a different way. Reagan was much more intelligent than Trump. He did it in a different way. He appealed to a different type of person. I'll say it. Trump appeals to the worst of us in many regards. It's really, or I shouldn't say the worst of us, the worst of human characteristics. Leaning in on hatred, cruelty, punishment, retribution. Because when we talk about things like the new question I've been asking a lot, I did it yesterday with a few people that we had in the chat. What do you stand for? And I think that's the question that we should start asking people, because it puts people on the spot, right? What do you stand for? And the things that we've gotten, like I've been specific, like I stand for healthcare for all. I stand for a livable wage. I stand for guaranteeing access to public education. I stand for making sure that we're not fighting over food. I stand for changing the entire economic system that benefits the middle class, right? Those are the things that I stand for. We can articulate the things that we stand for. I stand for a progressive society. I stand for women being in charge. I stand for things like that, principles. When you ask people on the right what they stand for, they use rhetorical language like, I stand for freedom. I stand for the truth, right? I stand for patriotism. Those things are so unbelievably like umbrella, 50,000 feet or higher. They can't be specific. So ask them what they stand for. And they can't answer oftentimes. It's because they've never stood for anything. They're conditioned to stand against everything. That's really sad, especially now as we're supposed to be celebrating family, right? The division in our country hasn't come from people, because people on the left that I know of have generally stood for the same thing for a very long time. Respect for marginalized communities, respect for our neighbors, empathy, caring about people that we don't know. The collective, we vote for society as a whole. They vote against something. Yes, happy Indigenous Thanksgiving. Thank you for saying that. Dude, unless you are using your own money to give to the poor, you can't say you stand for all. That's a D. Okay, whatever. I do use my own money to give to the poor. I've been doing it for decades. What about you? It's more than just money, though. It's about time, too, right? So I'm going to look at this from the political science, the political science lens, right? From a political science lens, what the right has done during the era of Trump has been something that is a masterclass in how you manipulate an electorate, to be objective. Because they've never stood for anything. The last 10 years of MAGA has never been about anything. It's been about a particular person and the emotional response that his followers get from him. They don't stand for the middle class. They don't stand for veterans. They don't stand for the America as a whole. They don't stand for freedoms. They don't stand for liberty. They don't stand for rights. They don't stand for progress. They don't stand for anything. They stand against everything. Then you haven't been paying attention very hard, have you? I'm just curious, Richard. I'll ask the question. I'd like to see, from my observational perspective, prove me wrong. Tell me what it is that you stand for. I just sent you an invite, Richard. If you want to come and talk about it, we can talk about it. Because if there's something that I'm missing, I'd like to know what it is. Because all I see is demeaning individuals. All I see is cruelty. All I see is blame. All I see is aggression towards people that you're told to hate. You have no reason to hate people. You've just been told to hate them. Why do you hate them? So, okay. Apocalyptic stakes. Messaging constantly suggests this is our last chance. If we lose, the country is finished. If you remember his famous J6 speech, if you don't fight for your country, you're going to lose your country, right? They're coming for your kids, your guns, your churches. Meanwhile, their policies are coming for your kids, your guns, your churches. When the stakes are framed as civilization versus annihilation, then normal ethical constraints loosen. Supporting a deeply flawed leader feels not just acceptable, but morally required. That's a powerful statement. Supporting a deeply flawed leader feels not just acceptable, but morally required. That no matter what he does, his followers, his loyal, let me fix this. gifting goal. His most loyal followers will always follow him. It doesn't matter where they are in their lives. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the destruction of their own finances. They're still going to support, and that's telling, because that's the whole point of this exercise, right? The difference now is that places that have always been safe for him, or I should say the MAGA movement, are no longer safe. The criticism from within, the pushback in the House, in the Senate, the pushback in neighborhoods, the pushback in communities. We're going to go through some new polling that we have. We're also going to go through some, we're going to use the Virginia election as a result about how every single demographic that Pew measured moved left from the 2024 election to the 2025 special elections. Every single demographic. We'll go through that in just a minute. When the stakes are framed as civilization versus annihilation, then normal ethical constraints loosen. Supporting a deeply flawed leader feels not just acceptable, but morally required. How all of this holds loyalty to a flawed leader, what's the glue that puts it all together? Evangelical and nationalist leaders use theology and identity, imperfect vessel, spiritual warfare, last stand for Christianity, to bless support for a leader whose personal life openly contradicts their own claimed values. So the evangelical and Christian nationalist leaders who believe that the United States has slipped into some radical left woke immoral society, and these evangelical and Christian national leaders used Donald Trump. So he was the tool. He was the imperfect vessel to help them reshape America. Trump is the useful idiot. He is. He always has been. He always will be. He is the useful idiot. All it takes to get him to do what you want him to do is praise. That's it. Just tell him he's the best at something. Just tell him he's fantastic. Just tell him that he's the greatest ever, and he will literally give you whatever you want. I won't go there. It's the truth. So they capitalized on it. They've capitalized through Project 2025. They've capitalized through the support he gets from the tech community and the billionaire class by just praising him, telling him he's the greatest ever, so they can get their tax breaks, so they can squirrel away money, so they can violate the law, so they can be corrupt. And he'll just continue to do it because he just doesn't care. He doesn't care about anything other than himself and his status. The ballroom is meant to be legacy for him. The gold, the Home Depot products that he purchased and put around the fucking Oval Office claiming that they're all gold is because that's how he sees himself. He sees himself as gauche. He sees himself as just ridiculous. But he needs it for support, and that's what MAGA gives him. The fact that he doesn't travel as much, because we reported yesterday, now he wants to go out to the New York Times because they talk about how he's just losing. He doesn't have the energy. He's 80 years old. He's the oldest person ever to be inaugurated. Those are the facts. And he needs the lifeblood of MAGA, and now he's not getting it. And you're seeing a caged animal. When the walls are closing in around you, you're seeing what he's doing. And we're all going to feel it. That's the reason that he squirreled away the data. That's why he doesn't want the economic data to be released, because he can't hide from it, because he knows how bad it is. Again, two things we can talk about. The Epstein list, he could have released it all along, could have ordered the DOJ to do it, hasn't done it because it's really bad. Economic data, same thing. He could have released it, hasn't done it, won't because it's really bad. Boom. Okay. Putting it all in one frame, psychologically, people resolve the clash, family values versus leaders' behavior, by seeing him as a persecuted champion. Attacks on him equal attacks on them. Historically, we've seen similar patterns with Berlusconi, Bolsonaro, and Viktor Orban, scandal-ridden, polarizing leaders whose flaws become proof they're fighting a corrupt system. So they're all flawed, they're all corrupt, but they've been able to convince their followers that the system is what's flawed. The system is what's corrupt. It's dangerous because it works. Inside the movement, multiple factions with different priorities are glued together by shared enemies and a common story of loss and redemption. Rhetorically, MAGA uses simple slogans, friend-enemy binaries, nostalgia, trolling, apocalyptic stakes to build a powerful emotional world where loyalty to the leader feels like loyalty to God, country, and self. How do you fight through that? If somebody's already devout in their faith or considers themselves a Christian, and the MAGA movement positions Trump as the second coming, as their spiritual champion, how do you break through that? That is a powerful draw, right? That's a powerful draw. Even though everything he does is completely contradictory to what they claim their beliefs to be. So when this gets studied in years, people are going to be like, wait a second. The evangelical Christians who claim family values supported Trump? People will be like, what? What? All right. So what I wanted to do, so I asked ChatGPT to kind of do a summary of, that's where I'm pulling this data from. I just was curious as to what ChatGPT's perspective on what MAGA was. Then I read him like, man, this really tracks. So again, to summarize, it's the rhetoric behind what they claim to be that their followers support compared to what they actually are. It's completely contradictory. So I was curious to go a little bit further. Let's analyze one particular statement that Trump has made and what that means and how it runs through this filter. So this was a Truth Social post on August of 2023. If you go after me, I'm coming after you. Simple post. Simple post, right? This was widely covered by multiple major outlets after Trump posted it shortly after an indictment. Here's the breakdown. If you go after me, victim framing. Trump often uses language that positions himself as the target of unfair persecution. This galvanizes supporters by making attacks on him feel like it's attacks on them. It activates in-group versus out-group psychology. We've talked about this before. Hey, Kristen, how are you? Hector, hi, guys. Good to see you all. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Tap hearts in the chat for all of our friends. Hearts in the chat for you guys, because you are the smartest chat on TikTok. I love you all. So hearts in the chat for all of you. Again, the most effective strategy, the only strategy, not even a strategy, the only strategy that the MAGA movement has been to get an emotional reaction out of their base. He portrays himself as the victim, but he's been able to connect the dots to them. He's been able to equate persecution against him with persecution against them. And he literally sees them, or they see him as their champion. Again, that's powerful. That's a really hard nut to crack, but that's why we do this every day. Implicit group identity. When he says me, supporters often interpret it as me equals us, the movement, the base, the cause. He is my champion. He is looking out for me. He is looking out for my family. No, just no. This blends personal fate with collective fate. Ambiguity of the attacker. You is intentionally non-specific. It could mean prosecutors, the media, Democrats, Republicans who oppose him, judges, the deep state, the science community, global intelligence services, anybody in whatever walk of life that challenges what the leader says is the enemy, the galvanizing cause. All of them are against him, therefore they're against you being MAGA voters. The vagueness allows each supporter to mentally plug in their own perceived enemy. They've been given license to hate, basically. Yeah, fake news, exactly right. They've been given license to hate. Hey, the leader, this guy, I should remind Trump that this person's against me too. That person's against me too. Peaceful protesters wearing rainbow flags. Those people are against you. Therefore, they're against me, therefore against you. I'm the champion. Right? I'm coming after you. Direct threat rhetoric. This is structured as retaliation language, a hallmark of Trump's style. The promise of personal retribution resonates with supporters who want strength, aggression, and vengeance. Especially men. Like we've said this before, society tells men the only emotions that you can show outwardly are anger and lust. He takes full advantage of that. He taps into that purest animalistic tendencies, especially coming from white men who perceive themselves as victims too, right? Meanwhile, they're at the fucking pinnacle of everything. Biggest bunch of babies I've ever seen in my life. But he's tapped into that emotion, right? Again, strength, aggression, vengeance. Think about who we speak to when we talk to members of MAGA. We talk to Trump voters. That's what you hear. You wouldn't say that to my face. I'm coming for you. Blah, 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 blah. Right? It performs the role of the strength protector archetype. Alpha posturing and dominance cue. In rhetoric studies, this is a dominance display. Short declarative statements, all caps. I've talked to you guys about this before. When he posts in True Social, he will put all caps on certain things that he wants emphasized. Does it all the time. Every single post. That is by design. That is intended to elicit a reaction because you pay attention to it. So it's like code breaker. So if you pull all, I'll find you one. I'll just give you a real-time example. Let's see. God bless America in all caps. Let me see here. Let me find a recent one. Here's one.
Breaking news! Law and justice have prevailed in the state of Georgia for the corrupt Fannie Willis witch hunt against me and other great American patriots has been dismissed in all caps. Get Trump, MAGA, 2020 election was rigged and stolen, honest and loving, First Amendment rights, make America great again.
You get it. That's by design. It's literally, this has been studied. How do you get emphasis? Where do your eyes go on the page, right? All caps, bold font. It is by design to bring people in to make sure that you're not missing the most important things about what I'm saying. We can talk about the Fannie Willis case. That case was doomed from the very beginning just because of the timing. Radical left, another good call. Radical left, right? Radical left, Antifa, domestic terrorists. These are all by design. Because then he knows that his followers aren't going to read the entire thread. They're just going to see this is what he wants me to see. It's like, dangle the gold watch. That's what happens when you literally position everything that you stand for, being the MAGA movement, as rhetorical cruelty. Let's call it what it is. It's by design, and it's worked. It's worked incredibly well. So, alpha posturing, again, short declarative, lock her up, stop the steal, make America great again, fuck Joe Biden, blah, blah, blah. All caps. If you're not on True Social, okay, I've talked about this before many, many times, because again, I've got 20 years and 25, actually almost 30 years in marketing and promotion. And this is basic marketing 101. Attention. What do you want your customers to focus on? What is the highlight of your ad? What is the highlight of your message? He uses True Social. He uses it extremely well, and he puts emphasis on things that he wants his voters to see. Second person direct address. It imitates a strongman leadership style where power is demonstrated through threats, not policy. Because it never talks about policy. Again, this goes back to what I said earlier. If you ask your MAGA friends and family members, what do they stand for? They're going to have a hard time telling you what they stand for. They're always going to find things to say that they stand against. I voted for Donald Trump because of the radical left agenda, blah, 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 blah. This is basic. This is political science 101. How do you grab your voters? What do you want them to know? Freedom, exactly, Sam. Freedom, exactly. It's not overly complicated, but it's emotional. It's rhetorical. And the rhetoric is based in cruelty, dishonesty. But they'll explain it away because they'll say, "Oh well, you took that out of context." Did I? That's not what he meant. Really? All politicians lie. Do they? So when you're having these conversations with friends and family members or just in general, ask them, like, what do you stand for? Can you tell me what you stand for, like specifically? And then you could give them an example of some of the things you stand for, right? I stand for overspending on public education. I stand for women's rights to their body. I stand for equity for marginalized communities. I stand for public health. I stand for improvement of social programs. Those are specific things. Ask somebody on the right what they stand for, and you're going to hear things like freedom, the truth. That's what they'll tell you. And then ask them to unpack that a little bit. Like, what does that mean? Like, I stand for freedom, but what does that mean to you? Freedom for who? And then the question that gets interesting, because like you, freedom for all, like you believe that everybody's rights should be protected. And they're like, yeah. And I said, so women's right to their body, for example, right? And then their heads go, common sense? Yeah, exactly. Somebody said that the other day. What do you stand for? Common sense. What does that mean? We had an interesting conversation yesterday when we were talking about, initially the person said that they did not see morality as subjective. I'm like, how can morality not be subjective? Do you and I believe in the same things? And then he realized, yeah, I guess morality is subjective. So again, just try to, if you want to engage, just have that conversation, right? Just have that conversation. We're doing fine here. We're just having conversations here. I'm still, the theme of the show today is, what are you thankful for? We'll get into that. Okay. Condensed emotional triggers. 55 characters. Go viral, fit on merchandise, be chanted, trigger both supporters positive and opponents negative. Right? A lot of the things he does is meant to trigger the left, and it does trigger the left, right? The problem is now is because he's really, really slipping. We're going to play some sound from Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who tries to observe things objectively, and I'll play the sound for you from his perspective. As because we don't like to diagnose people because we're not physicians. He's just speaking observationally, and that's again what the right will avoid. They won't accept the fact that their leader is in cognitive decline. So when Trump comes out and tells them that he had a perfect MRI, they're like, see, he had a perfect MRI. People don't just get MRIs. You don't just get one. It's ordered by your physician because of something, right? Person, woman, man, camera, TV. You don't ace a test like that. You take a test like that. First of all, it's meant as a cognitive assessment. It's not an IQ test. So there's that. Moral inversion. By defining prosecution as going after me, the reply, I'm coming after you, becomes framed as self-defense, not aggression. So when he goes after people like James Comey, and that entire case blew up in his face, Tish James and others, that's not retribution. That is, I am defending you, because if they can go after you, if they can go after me, they can come after you. It's been effective. It works. This turns from legal accountability into persecution. If you're being, so we hear this often from the right? Well, no president in history was under the scrutiny like he was. Well, no president in history has done the things that he's done. No president in history tried to overturn the election. No president in history is violating the Constitution at every fucking turn. No president in history was a 34-time convicted felon. No president in history had multiple affairs and tried to cover them up. No president in history defrauded a cancer charity. No president in history can't do business in New York because of his fraud. So you can't just, sure, no president in history has been investigated as much as this guy because it's worthy of investigation. But what the right does with that is to say, well, it's persecution. It's against him. You guys don't like him. I think he's a despicable human being, quite frankly. But I also believe in the rule of law. The argument that the right likes to use is that, well, you guys are protecting the Democrats on the Epstein list. We're like, no, the fuck we're not. We don't give a shit who's on it. We don't care who's on it. That's why you're seeing fractures in their movement, because they expect people on the left to be as loyal to their elected officials as they are to Trump. And we're just not. we're just not. Little advice, don't worship politicians. So, we're not. And that's what they expect. They expect us to be loyal. So when they say, well, you guys, you don't want this because you're afraid about your people being, and we're like, no, we're not. No, we're not. And they don't have a response to that. Well, yes, you do. No, we're not. Why hasn't Trump released the files? Well, why didn't Biden? Yeah, good question. Here's the facts. This is why. So why hasn't Trump? Well, he's protecting people. Who's he protecting? Well, people. Okay, cool. I'm not grifting. I'm just chatting. But if you want to grift, if you want me to, sure, go ahead. What do I need to do? Everybody give me $75. Whatever. Let me get into here. Savage, thank you so much for your $2. Luke, thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you all do. And FDT. Yes, I agree, Luke. You're absolutely right about that. Let me head over here. You don't want me to read that message, Donna. Okay. That's very sweet. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Okay. All right. Personalization of political conflict. Instead of saying they are going after our movement, he collapses the line between himself, the movement, and the nation. He says, I'm the one that's going to basically take the figurative bullet for you because I'm the one that's looking out for you. I am then the defender of you and the defender of our nation. It's powerful shit. This is powerful shit. This is I'm not psychoanalyzing this thing. I'm just, again, I asked ChatGPT their opinion on MAGA, and I'm just reading the results. I agree with a lot of the things that they've said here. This is a feature of charismatic authority, where the leader's persona becomes inseparable from the political project. It's the us versus them escalation. Threat rhetoric amplifies polarization by signaling no neutrality is possible, attack me, and we will escalate. We don't want to negotiate. You either do what we say. This speaks to what the situation regarding the Super Six. The people, the veterans in Congress who made that PSA about reminding vets that they have to disobey an unlawful order, right? That speaks exactly to that. No neutrality is possible. Attack me and we will escalate it. There's no compromise. The person who's seditious in this entire discussion is the president, because he basically said, you either do what I say or you're a traitor. He's the traitor. Okay? It reinforces MAGA's core dichotomy. We are in a total war against powerful forces. It's wild. For supporters, it sparks collective anger, protective instincts, solidarity with the leader, and a cathartic release. Finally, someone who fights back. For opponents, it sparks fear, outrage, confirmation of authoritarian concerns. The dual reaction is intentional. Polarization is the message. A person who's racist won't see something as being racist. A person who supports fascistic tendencies won't accept the fact that they're supporting fascistic tendencies. They don't want to be considered a fascist. Some people don't care, quite frankly. But they don't want to be, they don't care that they're told they're racist because they don't think they're racist. That's the whole Charlie Kirk phenomenon, right? That, of course, people don't think what he said was racist, even though it absolutely fucking was, because they're racist too. That's the fight, right? That's what we're pushing back against. The dual reaction is intentional. Polarization is the message. Again, for supporters, it's the anger, it's the protective instincts, it's the solidarity with the leader, it's a cathartic release. For the opponents, it sparks fear, outrage, confirmation of authoritarian concerns. We can look at what's happening, right? We can look at the fact that they've now escalated DC with 500 National Guard troops. Those West Virginia National Guard members would not have been shot if they weren't put there by the president initially. But the right sees it as, I can't believe somebody went after our National Guard instead of, why were they there to begin with? They were there because of a lie. They were there because of a narcissist wanting to flex. They don't care about law and order. They care about suppression, aggression, power, might. They don't care about decency. They care about diminishing, cruelty. They don't care about lifting people up. They care about pushing people down. So this is just that. This is the divide. I think it's really as simple as that. This is the divide in our nation. What do you want? What do they want? We, people on the left, and not everybody on the left. There's also people in the middle. There's people that are independents. We've seen the polling. Independents have moved so far away from this bullshit. This is why the midterms are going to be an absolute disaster for Republican parties. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But this is by design from the right. And in the past, it's always worked. He's been able to rely on this messaging. It's, divide and conquer. He's been able to rely on this. Faded signal. Who am I berating? I'm calling out what I see. You may not like it, which kind of proves the point, right? Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that I'm wrong, that MAGA isn't fueled by rhetoric and hate. Every single day when we talk to people, that's what we hear. I'm going to blame it. Just last night, people in MAGA lives blaming this person, claiming that it was the Biden era because Biden let this person in the country illegally. That's not the truth. The truth is that this person was part of a program to reestablish, people who assisted the U.S. military in Afghanistan. Operation Allies Welcome. The person who did this yesterday was granted asylum under the Trump administration. Why can't you guys accept that? If you don't like it, then criticize him. If you don't think that person should have been granted asylum, then criticize the administration. We're just calling it out. You tell us every single day that you're fueled by hatred. That might be something you want to check. Okay, for the media, it guarantees coverage because it's extreme, it's newsworthy, it's really easily quotable, and it drives clicks and discourse. No doubt about that. So, victimhood framing, it creates moral solidarity, right? Because if they can go after him, they can go after us. Ambiguity allows for broad substitution of whatever your target is for that particular day. Threat display signals dominance and strength. Moral inversion recasts prosecution as persecution. All caps, visual intensity. Compression, designed for virality and repetition. Charismatic personalization. Leader equals movement equals identity. And effective polarization, emotional sorting of supporters and opponents. I'm going to go back to the charismatic personalization for a second. Leader, movement, identity. We've discussed this many, many times, right? And again, our friend Daniela Masinick-Young, who talked about her time in the cult and then joining the U.S. Army, and she is an expert on this kind of shit. Biggest threat to the cult is not on the outside, it's on the inside. So when you attach your entire identity, there are people in our country, their entire identity is MAGA. That's it. That's what they stand for. There could be a variety of reasons. They could have felt excluded from things in the past. They could have been like, I finally found my people, so to speak, whatever that looks like. So anytime you oppose that, you are recognizing your own identity may be flawed, characteristically speaking. We've given this analogy before. 10 years' time, they may have kids. I hope they don't, based on their own failings. 10 years' time, 15 years' time, their grandchildren are rummaging around in their attic and they find their MAGA hat. How do they explain it? When you connect your entire identity to a movement that is fueled in rhetoric and hatred, how do you come back from that? I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can. And what you're going to see within the next couple of years, people are going to be asked, did you vote for Trump? Oh, God, no. I didn't vote for that. Oh, I didn't vote. Much like we hear people who are MAGA voters said that they had voted for Obama. If that were the case, Barack Obama would have got 900 gazillion votes. So they're in like it's a character retribution, right? How do they push away from being connected to this? Many of them won't. Many of them will just be like, yeah, I'm a full-blown Yahtzee, or I'm a full-blown fascist, Or, yeah, I despise women, or I hate black and brown people. I'm a racist, I'm a bigot, I'm a transphobe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People will wear that proudly. You're right, or they're now independent. People will wear that proudly. We don't need them. We don't. We need more voters, more people to participate in democracy. That's what our Do Something Tour is going to be in the spring. When I go out on the road, hashtag Do Something Tour, my conversations will be with people who've been left behind. I've said this before. I'll say it again real quick. I believe that 75, 80 million people who are registered voters did not show up in the last election. And I think they fall into two distinct camps. Sure, there can be fractions within each of those. But I think it's the both sides people, which I think is just lazy and apathetic. Yeah, it's two wings of the same bird, two sides of the same coin. I think that's just lazy because those people don't stand for anything. And then I think there's the other group, which I think is the larger group of people who genuinely feel disenfranchised, who genuinely feel left behind, who don't feel like government will ever work for them, who don't feel like anybody really speaks to them. Those people are gettable voters. Those are the conversations that I want to have. Like, tell me what it is that you stand for. Let's break it down. Do you feel like we have a system where we should have affordable health care? Yes. How do we do it? Do you feel like we have a gun violence problem in our country? Yes. How do we solve for it? Do you feel like the rich and the elites are just taking advantage of all of us every single day? Yes. What do we do about that? Those voters are out there. Yeah, those voters, they do exist. They're out there. They're left behind. And I've said this before. Conservative politics since Reagan, MAGA politics, Republican politics has catered to the donor class, to the rich and corporations. We can look at it. We don't even, again, it's not even an opinion, it's fact. They cater to the rich. The Democrat Party, for the most part, tends to favor the middle class, but doesn't go far enough. Those are legit criticisms of both of the two major parties in our country. Progressives, which hopefully the Democratic Party will start to listen to more, progressives want the priority to be the middle class, the working class, unions, education, healthcare, public safety. Those are all things, and it's wild to even think about those as things as progressive. But that's the divide, and that's what we have to get back to. So those are the conversations that I'm going to want to have when I'm out on the road in the spring for our Do Something Tour. Thank you, Blue Nurse. I appreciate you saying that. So I think that's a pretty good summary of what MAGA is. And I think that thankful for family, friends, career, and that DJT is making America great again. Like, I'm curious about that, though. Can you come up and talk to me, Trucked Up? Because I'm just really curious. It's just a question. I'd like to know what that means to you. Because I don't see it that way. I don't see anything that this administration has done anything to make America great. I just don't see it. I'd like, if I'm missing something, then please tell me what it is. Let me just check in with my amazing family here. Okay. FBI director provide updates on DC National Guard. I'm going to hold a presser. Okay. All right. I'm just checking in with the mods here. Okay. All right. Let's thank you for letting me take you through that exercise. I think it's important. Just because we have to know who the enemy is, and it's not the enemy as how the right wants to see the left. It's the enemy, from my perspective, to decency, right? It's the people, especially MAGA voters, right? We see you as a threat to humanity. We're not afraid of you. We just see you as a threat to humanity. We just see you thinking that anger is the only way. And then that feeds right into the patriarchy and the aggression of men and how they take advantage of that. So I'm going to give you some polling information. I found this fascinating. Let me first cover, because Lisa Murkowski, who I'm not a big fan of, senator from Alaska, she's been one of a few senators, I should say elected members of Congress, that have come out in opposition to the bullshit rhetoric from the Trump administration as it relates to the Super 6. So I'll play this news story for you and we can talk about it.
And Senator Lisa Murkowski is pushing back against the president and defended Senator Kelly in particular, who obviously she serves alongside in that chamber. And she writes, to accuse him and other lawmakers of treason and sedition for rightfully pointing out that service members can refuse illegal orders is reckless and flat out wrong. The Department of Defense and FBI surely have more important priorities than this frivolous investigation. Jackie, is it a political risk for President Trump to go after veterans like this?
I think it's a political risk kind of all around, because in addition to going after them, having the FBI potentially look into them, with Mark Kelly's case, have the military, which also has a process for what's happening with Kelly that has pretty much been ignored at this point. It elevates their message. I mean, this video this post on the internet might not have seen the light of day, or might not have been circulated as far as it has been had the administration not gone all in. And you have someone like a Mark Kelly, who is seen as a dark horse 2028 contender, who now is everywhere. And what he said on that message is also everywhere. So certainly there is a political risk.
Chris, is this even a good use of FBI resources? We hear in Murkowski's statement pointing to, surely they have other bigger priorities.
Again, that's what it's going to take. And this is where we see the divide getting wider and wider and wider. Members of Congress are just disgusted by this, but some of them, up until now, have been afraid to stand up, speak out against it. So there is reporting from, let me see if I can find the story here. This is from Punchbowl News. And I think this really, this tells me a lot. This told me a lot when I read this. They're talking about it in terms of what MTG has done. Now, listen, I'm not going to give MTG any credit. She doesn't deserve any. She's a despicable human being. She coincidentally engineered her retirement to happen 2 days after she becomes eligible for her pension, which is roughly $15,000 a year. Okay. But by the way, when she entered office, her net worth was $700,000. Now it's over $25 billion. MAGA, by the way, Joe Biden was in public service for around 55 years. His net worth right now sits at around $17 million. But who's the corrupt one? Who's been the one that's been taking advantage of insider trading? You can blame Joe all you want if that's what makes you feel better, but go ahead. So this reporting from Punchbowl News, the title is What MTG Got Right. Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene will retire from Congress in 40 days, announced the end of her House career on Friday in a manifesto of sorts that sounded many of the notes of concern we hear about President Trump's second term. The crux of MTG's message is that Trump and House Republicans are abandoning all of the president's priorities, falling into complacency, and are on the brink of squandering their razor-thin majority. Let's dispense with the caveats. MTG has never been representative of the House Republican Conference at large. She clearly has a bone to pick with Trump and the leadership. MTG may have her eye on the governorship. That chatter picked up again over the weekend. She's also never been a fan of Speaker Mike Johnson. MTG's 4-page note was stinging for House Republicans. Why? Because the message rang true to so many in the House GOP. In fact, a few other members messaged Punchbowl News over the weekend saying that they too are considering retiring in the middle of their term. Here's one particularly exercised senior House Republican who's not named in the article. Quote, this is from a House Republican, okay? Arguably a defender of Trump. Quote, this entire White House team has treated all members like garbage, all of us. And Mike Johnson has let it happen because he wanted it to happen. That is the sentiment of nearly all appropriators, authorizers, hawks, doves, rank and file, etc. The arrogance of this White House team is off-putting to members who are run roughshod and threatened. They don't even allow little wins like announcing small grants or even responding from agencies. Not even the high-profile, the regular rank-and-file random members are more upset than ever. Members know they are going into the minority after the midterms. More explosive early resignations are coming. It's a tinderbox. Morale has never been lower. Mike Johnson will be stripped of his gavel, and they will lose the majority before this term is out. That's pretty freaking telling. when you've got apparently a long list of people who are ready to say, I'm done with this shit. We support the president at every turn, and this is how he treats us? This is how he treats us? Of course, Johnson's team points out they have impossibly small margins and believe they are doing what they can with the hand that they were dealt. Really, bitch boy? Really? Really? You've gone against your own caucus numerous times because of what the president has told you to do. And nobody likes you. Nobody likes you, Mike. Nobody. But the idea that Republicans could lose their majority this Congress is no longer far-fetched. If Johnson were to lose another House Republican in the middle of this term to retirement, death, or illness, there's a decent chance that the GOP can end up in the minority at some point in 2026 before the midterms. The math. Republicans have 219 seats. Democrats have 213. There's a special election in Tennessee on December 2nd to fill Rep. Mark Green's seat in Tennessee. Afton Bain. That election is fascinating to me because of what it started off. It's like a 22 plus Trump district, and now it's inside the margin of error. So Tennessee voters, Tennessee's district, I don't know the district. I'll get that for you guys. Democrats and Republicans are pouring piles of money into that district, which Trump won by more than 20 points. If Republicans win, their margin will remain the same after MTG's retirement. But if Democrats will gain a seat in the House, Democrats will gain a seat in Houston at the end of January when voters choose the late Rep. Sylvester Turner's replacement. And then April 16th, New Jersey voters will choose Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill's replacement. That's a seat that former Vice President Kamala Harris won by 9 percentage points in 2024. District 7, thank you. District 7, thank you very much. District 7 in Tennessee, voters, please, you know what to do. Let's say Democrats are able to steal the Tennessee seat based on subpar GOP turnout. Unlikely, but possible. Johnson would have 218 members, the Democrats 214. Texas and New Jersey would bring Democrats to 216. If any member falls ill, retires, or whatever else, Johnson would be sunk. That's as it sits right now. Okay, that's the math. House retirements and resignations are common after the holidays. How appealing is it to return to the Capitol when the House spends most of its time voting on censure resolutions or meaningless messaging bills? The calendar, the legislative climate is brutal. Enhanced Obamacare premium subsidies expire at the end of December. Trump is expected to propose a new plan in the coming days that may include an extension of the subsidies so Republicans can come up with their own long-term proposal. Sadly, though, Mike Johnson said, you don't have the votes. You don't have the votes. You don't have the votes. It's already gone on the record, told the president, no. That's why the president didn't announce his health care plan on Monday, because Mike Johnson doesn't have the votes. This will split the GOP on Capitol Hill because some people want to extend the subsidies and some people don't. And because the margins are so slim, they can't lose voters. So there you go. Government funding expires January 30th. House lawmakers already privately acknowledge they will get jammed by the Senate. Johnson is facing Johnson is facing arrested rank and file. Lawmakers have filed discharge petitions on health care, Russia sanctions, and after the recess is over, Republicans and Democrats will likely file one to ban stock trading in Congress. Mike Johnson is screwed. His dick's been cut off because his own base is tired of the way that he is, leading the House, so to speak. They're in trouble. They are in trouble, and they know it. And they can't they can't stem the tide. There's always retirements. They're talking about as many as 50. 50. So the person who speaks in the House representing the party becomes the House Speaker. So there'll be a vote, but if the majority party is through these retirements, the majority party would be the Democrats. So imagine that, right? It's gotten so bad. Discharge petitions are rare by nature, a cry of discontent from the rank and file. It's gotten so bad that Johnson said he wants to change House rules to make it harder to file discharge petitions. This will never pass, but it does underscore just how frustrated the leadership is with losing control of the House. The one big beautiful bill passed in Congress July 3rd, 144 days ago. Since then, the House has been racked by fighting. Redistricting is blowing up in the GOP's face as the party faces a significant challenge to its map in Texas and seemingly unmovable state lawmakers in Indiana. Trump most recently cozied up to Zoran in the Oval Office, raising questions about whether the GOP can follow up on their plans to run a nationwide campaign against a Democratic socialist. Midterm elections are 344 days away. The most logical strategy that Republicans had going into the midterms was to run as if Zohran Mamdani was the face of the Democratic Party. Can't do that now. You can't. Because the counter messaging is a picture of Donald Trump stroking the arm of Zohran. They have nowhere to go. I am strictly looking at this from the political science lens, right? They don't have a track record to stand on. The economy is in the shitter. American citizens are being rounded up by ICE. They have mishandled everything. They can't prosecute people that they say are a threat. They don't have any evidence of crimes. They are just throwing shit up against the wall. And the economy. Oh, did I mention the economy? Oh, and as a reminder, the economy. Because it's always about the economy. This is what happens when you don't run on policy. When you run on rhetoric that's been effective, and it suddenly stops being effective because of your incompetence and your corruption, you got nothing left. The entire administration was built on tariffs. They're likely going to lose that case in the Supreme Court just because it's Congress's job. Oh yeah, and the economy, I forgot. So they have nothing left. So this is what we're seeing, in my opinion, is it's definitely the death of MAGA. But I think it's the end of the Republican Party as we've seen it. Because they don't have policy to run on. They just don't have it. Their policy is to prioritize the rich. That's it. And to prop up the military-industrial complex. That's it. That's it. They don't do things. It's not opinion. They don't do things to support the middle class. They talk a good game. They don't do anything to provide health care. They don't have a health care solution. They don't care about the wage gap. They don't care about the wealth gap. They don't care about the expansion of healthcare. They don't care about the expansion of education. These are all things that the overwhelming majority of Americans want. They don't care about any of it. They are crumbling. Friends, this is politically speaking, keep your foot on their neck. Politically speaking. Again, politically speaking. This is when you need to be more motivated than ever. This is when you need to knock more doors than ever. Make more phone calls than ever. Do something more than ever. This is where all the work that we've all done, all the energy, all the support, all the advocacy, this is what matters the most now. Between now and Election Day next year. They're going to do everything they can to try to use hate, to try to use threats, because they expect they expect people who are in opposition to them to succumb. And we're not. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to let it happen, and I'm not going to let you let it happen. Well, hello there. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Hey, don't have anything to add to the conversation today, but I just wanted to tell you that I'm grateful for you today, and I'm thankful for all that you do for our community and for just the world in general.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
I think you're a really incredible dude, and I really look up to you. So.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Feelings mutual.
You're welcome. Love you.
Love you too. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Just out here fighting the fight, right? That's what we're doing. We're out here fighting the fight. We're trying to. I'm fortunate that I'm able to sit behind this microphone every day, and I'm fortunate and grateful that you guys trust me enough to do this. I really, really, that means a lot to me. Means a lot to me. Thank you for saying that. Okay, let's Coach, you got me. Damn it. Okay, let's get into some more. I want to play this sound from Spencer Cox. Spencer Cox is the governor of Utah. Did I get? I got our live got taken down yesterday for misinformation. Like what? Okay. Anyway, sorry. Spencer Cox is the governor of Utah. I know we're bouncing around a little bit today, but this is all synonymous with what it is that we're talking about. And I want you to hear the contradictions from Spencer Cox. He is one of those people that became a prominent face because of the Charlie Kirk situation. But this is a weird interview. Really, really strange. He's being interviewed by Steve Inskeep from Morning Edition. I'll be right back.
Not vote for the president in 2016, did not vote for him in 2020, and then endorsed him in 2024.
Correct.
In a way this can summarize.
Please, yeah.
After the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, you said the president's survival was a miracle and spoke to him directly and said, only you can unify the country now. Has he? The country now. Has he?
I think if you were to ask him that question, he would say no. I don't think that's happened for sure. He hasn't modeled that, and he sees the world a little differently than I do.
The difference in the worldview is that he sees.
There was this interesting moment in the Charlie Kirk memorial. You heard Erica Kirk forgive the shooter. One of the most powerful, most Christian moments I had ever experienced. And then there's this very revealing moment. The president, and he got panned for this. I actually give him credit for it, where he said, Charlie's always trying to get me to
My opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica.
And so I appreciated his honesty in that moment. And again, I think it speaks to a different.
You appreciated his honesty? He's the president of the United States, guy. You appreciated his honesty, saying that he hates his opponents? You appreciated that? Okay.
Difference philosophically that he and I both have.
You appreciated that he said it.
Yeah.
And that you think it's the right way to be.
I appreciate that he owned it, and he would tell you if he were sitting here today that he and I disagree on that point. I believe that we are commanded to forgive our enemies. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't be held accountable.
Yeah.
But it does mean that for our own sake, it's something that we have to do.
It's such a weird thing to be that far. Yeah. Ricky said it right. It's just not the language of a president. It's not the language of any elected official. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. People see him as, he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. Again, you're right, Lovely. It's just not Christ-like, which, again, this goes to the contradiction of the entire MAGA movement. That's why I wanted to play it. Because this guy's a Mormon. This guy's an LDSer, right? This guy lied numerous times during the whole CK, assassination. Don't forget, he came out with trying desperately to try to blame it on somebody from the left, and he couldn't do it. Tried so fucking hard. Then had to lie again. Then finally had to admit that it was one of their own, so to speak. Right? I hate my opponent. I hate the Democrats. You're the president of the United States, my guy. This is why you're failing miserably currently. That's why. You don't have policy to run on. You have hatred. You have cruelty. And it's always worked for you in the past, and it's just not working anymore. So here we are on Thanksgiving. We should be grateful for things. And I'm grateful for many, many things. But I'm also grateful for people willing to stand up to this nonsense, this bullshit. Calling it out. I'm not getting any younger, right? I don't want this for anybody in our country. I don't want people to suffer. I don't have enemies. I don't see the world that way because I'm a humanist, right? I just don't see enemies. The New York Yankees, that goes without saying. If you know, you know. But I don't see people that way. I look at people who are hardcore Trumpers as just lost individuals because they've been lied to. They have been lied to. Their worst tendencies, their worst characteristics have been amplified by someone who doesn't give a fuck about them. Is it pity? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's the struggle with the empaths, right? We know we have to find that fine line between wanting people to be better and wanting people to be, taken care of, and then what we see from the right. It's a wild position for them to be in. I don't want people to suffer. I'm tired of it. I want wars around the world to end. I don't want fishermen being blown up in the Caribbean. I don't want National Guard members to be shot in DC. I don't want people to be victims of school shootings anymore. I don't want marginalized communities to continue to be diminished. I don't want their rights being taken away. That's what I'm grateful for humanity. I'm thankful for people who are willing to stand up and fight for it. I don't see people as enemies. I just don't look at it that way. Is it opposition? Sure. But the uniting cause to me is that we should be supporting our fellow neighbor. That's what we should be talking about. We're trying to make their lives better. We're fighting for health care for the most loyal Trump voter. We're fighting for food for the family of a Trump voter. That's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for them. They're not fighting for us. They're fighting against us. Meanwhile, we're here every single day fighting for them, wanting them to not get ripped off by corporations, wanting them not to get ripped off by a for-profit healthcare industry. That's what we want. That's what everybody should want. Label it the wrong way. I don't know. Call it something different. Call it fucking America First Care. I don't give a shit. Call whatever the fuck you want. I want people to have health care, because if I know if they have health care, then my healthcare costs are going to go down. Across the board, healthcare costs are going to spike like crazy. Do you understand how the system works? I'll take a little detour here quickly. Third quarter of the year, so I did this prior. So one of my responsibilities, I used to, when I was a CMO when I was in corporate America, prior to going out on my own about 5 years ago, I was a chief marketing officer for a Fortune 100 company, and the benefits program fell under my purview. So I was always part of, with my HR director and my VP of HR, we would always go through the exercise of evaluating what company or what policies we were going to purchase as a benefit to our employees. You lock that in. So when the calendar flips, those prices, as it escalates to the cost of, because of the ACA going away and because subsidies go up or go away because premiums are going to go up, you're fixed. So the insurance companies are already going to make their money. They're already going to make their money. They're going to adjust because of the fact the ACA subsidies are going to go away, which is going to drive everybody's cost up. So everybody that's on an employer-based plan, look at this guy. Look at Matt. See, Matt. Now, Matt, why would you bother making a statement like that? Do you think it's a threat to me? Do you think I feel intimidated? I feel pity for you, Matt, that you would have to say that. What are you referencing? A little light in the loafers? Are you implying that you're questioning my sexuality? Why would you do that, Matt? Why would you do that? Why would you spend time doing something like that? Do you think I care? Do you think I care what you think? Do you think I care what you think? Why would you do that? It's such a weird thing to do, Matt. Like, why would you spend any time doing something like that? Do you think it offends me? I feel pity for you, Matt. It's pity. That's what you see. I hope you get health care. Good luck with that. Matt's got a crush. I mean, let's be real, right? Yeah, exactly. Matt, do you even lift? Anyway, so that's what's going to happen. So the insurance companies are going to make their money. They're going to make their money because of what's going on now. Because these subsidies go away, costs are going to go up for everyone across the board. They're not going to adjust. They're not going to bring their costs down. So your health insurance going up as a direct result of some of these ACA subsidies going away. And the machine that is the health insurance industry is going to make their money on the backs of you. I don't want that to happen to anybody. I want Matt to have health insurance. I really do, Matt. I want you to have health insurance so that when you go to the doctor to discuss your ED, that you can that would be paid for. You know, when the hair plugs start to fall out, I want to make sure that you're in a position to be able to get that fixed, Matt. When your T count drops off the cliff, I want you to be able to go and talk to a physician about that. So I want you to have health care, Matt. We care about that. Watch this, Matt. Watch this. There's 770 people in here, okay? Chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you want Matt to have health care. Go ahead. Watch what's going to happen, Matt. Watch what's going to happen. You see? You see, Matt? You see what happens? We want you to have health care. We want you to have health care. We don't care because we know exactly. People are like, unfortunately, yeah. We want you to have health care. We want you to be able to be in a position where you don't have to worry about going, medical bankruptcy and losing everything because of a bill. You see? See how easy that is? But instead, you have to come in with childish middle school games. Host looks like he's lighting the loafers. Do you think I give a fuck, bro? Do you think I care? I don't. So, I'm not sure what you accomplished there, but anyway, back to Spencer Cox. So this is the issue with Spencer Cox is that he's stuck now. He's stuck. He wants to align himself with the evangelical Christian nationalist rhetoric that fuels him and his party by trying to say, yeah, I don't think the president should have said that, but, I appreciate that he speaks his mind. Okay. Good luck with that. There's also reporting, speaking of the whole Charlie Kirk situation and Turning Point, Erica Kirk says Turning Point would support a J.D. Vance presidential bid. Yeah. Okay. I'm not surprised. What's the over-under on the divorce between J.D. and Usha Vance? 6 months? What's the over-under? After the election? What's the over-under? It's got to have to be soon, right? Because, J.D. Vance is not going to let Erica Kirk get away. 2 to 3 months, you think? After they 25th the president, so that Erica Kirk can become the first lady? You think I'm kidding? You think it's over 12 months? We'll see. Don't know. But that's the reporting from Newsweek. Asked about the possibility of Turning Point supporting JD in a potential presidential bid. She was interviewed recently on the Megyn Kelly show. She said, it's in the works. This was a thing my husband was very direct about. One of the last few conversations we had was how intentional he was for supporting JD in 2028. Conversations, the conservative student advocacy group is credited with bolstering President Trump's base and galvanizing younger voters ahead of the 2024 election. Group founder and CEO Charlie Kirk was assassinated, as you know. She also, in that same interview, she said, well, Charlie would have run for president if he felt it necessary. Yeah. So that's a wild flex, but nobody should be surprised. So this was, I mentioned this before. This is Dr. Sanjay Gupta, just from his observation of what we're seeing. The reason I want to play this sound now is because it speaks to what we've been discussing all morning, the power of the MAGA movement. And it was based on Donald Trump's energy, his ability to go in front of a crowd, his ability to get the energy from his supporters, right? So this is Mr. Gupta's take on this, and he's doing it objectively, which I appreciate because he's talking about this, what we saw from the Biden administration. These are two old guys that are former president and current president. So here's the story. Here you go.
I had this conversation last week. We took pains to not speculate because I think a lot of people like to speculate. And I think based on the conversation we started, a lot of people started asking questions. But it's clear that there's age-related cognitive decline. I mean, that's obvious. His response to somebody fainting in the Oval Office really conveyed that. He didn't show any signs of concern. He didn't really do anything. He was slow to respond. And that slowness and fatigue you're seeing more and more in his public events. So that's one. 2, he's confused a lot. 3, he sometimes mumbles sort of incoherent nonsense when he's asked a question in the press pool in the Oval Office. So all these things, when this constellation of just him being him. Imagine if President Biden did any of those things. He did a fraction of it from what I saw and the lead up to the 2024 election, and people obviously forced him out of the race. you're not seeing that level of scrutiny until maybe now you're starting to see signs of it. But, President Biden was active on the weekends, especially riding his bike in Rehoboth Beach. Physical exercise was something that he was clearly doing, and we had visual signs of that. From a cognitive standpoint, sure, you slow down once you hit your late 70s, early 80s. No one denied that with President Biden, that he had his moments of being 80 or 82, whatever it was. In this case, the White House is not willing to even acknowledge that the president is showing obvious signs of age-related decline, one. But two, you don't see him ever really doing anything physically active the way that President Obama, President George W. Bush, President Biden, though our last three presidents prior to Trump, regularly worked in to their daily life. I mean, Biden was biking, he was exercising, he was walking, and he made a point of creating that visual to convey that was a big part of his daily existence. He made a point of engaging the press on the weekends. When he was biking in Delaware, you don't see any of that. And physical activity is one way to really guard against the onset of cognitive decline, dementia as we get older. So I worry about that as well. He might take trips out overseas in Air Force One. That doesn't substitute for the lack of physical activity. So when you put it all together here, clearly something is happening. And clearly they're not getting MRIs just because that's just the moment that we live in. There's a reason, and they're worried. And frankly, that's piecing this all together. There's a reason to be worried based on his public performance.
It's hard to debate that, right? Joey Spags, I appreciate the all caps. We know that it's an attention grab, and if that's what you need for attention on this day, that's fine. I understand. But I just would be curious if you can be objective, right? I can sit here and be objective to say that Joe Biden was old. Joe Biden looked very frail at times. He had a difficult time in sentences. He had a horrible debate performance because he was old, because he was in mental decline as he got older. But Joe Biden was not a threat like Donald Trump is. So can you be objective and talk about Donald Trump's cognitive decline? This is the issue that we have, right? Why not just be objective? Person, woman, man, camera, TV? Telling people on Air Force One that he had a perfect MRI that was part of his annual health exam? MRIs are not part of your annual health exam. Magnets, batteries, whales. Just be objective. And again, this is what happens inside the cult. Everything is projection. Everybody else is in cognitive decline. Everybody else is diminished. Everybody else is old and frail. Windmills, exactly. Just be objective. Do you think Donald Trump is sharp? Listen, the guy has never been smart. He's just stupid. It's just an ignorant person. He's not smart at all. But he was good as a carnival barker. Good in front of a crowd, good in front of an audience. That's how he built his brand. That doesn't exist anymore. He doesn't have the energy to do it. He doesn't have the ability to go out on the road. He's being handled. Yeah, unless he wants, you know what? You'll get a big rise out of him when you talk about Arnold Palmer's junk.
Hey now.
I'm just saying, that's when he's at his best. That's when he really sits up straight and wakes up. I'm not judging your kink. I'm judging your hypocrisy. Just be objective. just be objective. You can't sit there and say that he's in fine health, because he's not. You don't have an MRI. You don't have two inside of 6 months unless something's wrong. Be objective. And you guys can't do that. And that tells us a lot, because you can't defend it, because I can guarantee how this conversation would go. So Matt, what's on your mind today? Oh, I can't believe you guys are saying that Trump's in cognitive decline. All we're saying is that he's 80 years old. So do you believe that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline? Absolutely, all day long. Okay, so then person, woman, man, camera, TV, do you get an MRI all the time? Well, no, but that's just Trump being Trump. Exactly. I mean, I could literally have these conversations by myself. I don't need opposition. I don't need to be a Trump supporter because I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But just be objective, Joey. Just be objective. Just be objective, Joey. Jump in the box, okay? Just be objective. That's all we're asking for. Doesn't mean you need to stop supporting your guy, although I wish you would. Just be objective. That's it. It's not that hard. You get asked the question. Well, in Joey's case, nothing is very hard. I'm just saying, just be objective. Just be able to have a conversation that involves what you see with your own eyes. Then we can talk about it. But you don't want to do that. And I wouldn't either if I were you. I wouldn't want to talk about it either. Do you even think there's such a thing as being here illegally? Why did you pivot to that, Joey? Do you even think there is such a thing as being here illegally? Yes, I do, which is why I want immigration reform, Joey. I don't want to be heavy-handed with cowardice ICE agents. You probably think that's okay too, don't you, Joey? See, we see you, Joey. But you know what, Joey? The chat wants you to have health care, especially access to mental health care. Just keep that in mind as you go about your day. Okay? Cool. So I appreciate Dr. Gupta's perspective on this, right? I really do. We've got to be able to call it out as we see it. This is the backup. Yes, this is my backup account. Please follow me here, friends. If you don't, please consider joining our team. I really appreciate you all doing that. Let me just check in over here real quick. A little bit of feedback. That was wild. Hold on. Gregory, again, thank you, buddy. Michelle, thank you so much. Caitlin, thanks for the Thanksgiving grift. Appreciate the knowledge you impart every morning. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate you. Savage Mom, thank you again. Luke, thank you again. Appreciate you very, very much. You guys are awesome. You guys are incredible. We're almost there, friends. Let's see if we can take this out today, because we're grifting. Quick math. 54. There we go. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Yeah, Joey, why are you so scared of me? Listen, I've said this before, Joey. I don't bite. I just nibble. Now, if you're into that kind of shit, then there's a seat at the table for you. Come on up, okay? Anywho, this is what we're witnessing right here is kind of what we talked about, right? We talked about this morning. That their leader can do no wrong. They will find ways to pivot off the obvious because they just don't want to talk about it. And again, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. When when they look at corruption, they don't see anything that Donald Trump is doing as corrupt. You got Eric Trump going out publicly bragging about their new Bitmine factory, or their Bitcoin mining factory, as they're enriching themselves on the back of the American taxpayer. Why would you not call that out? If you are opposed to corruption, if you're truly opposed to corruption, then call out corruption. It's not that hard. It's really not. It's not that hard. Okay. I found this really interesting story about, the title is the 2024 Trump realignment. The big push from, this is a bit of a non sequitur, but I think it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about because of what happened in 2024 and what we're seeing now. The Trump 2024 realignment is already over. This is a story by Elliot Morris. I'll just take you through the findings. It is a matter of fact that Donald Trump won the 2024 election in large part by shrinking the vote margins for Kamala Harris among non-white, working class, and young voters relative to past Democratic nominees. But the interpretation of Trump's 2024 win is a matter of opinion. Some, like Republican pollster Patrick Ruffin, have argued Trump's inroads with traditionally left-leaning voters represented a fundamental realignment in American politics. It is clear now that the claims of a fundamental realignment of American politics has been highly exaggerated. The 2024 election is best seen as an anti-incumbent election stemming from economic anxiety, most but not entirely driven by rising inflation during Joe Biden's presidency. No doubt about that. The elections held just 2 weeks ago were a continuation of the anti-incumbent sentiment from last year, this time directed towards the new party in charge. It's always about the economy, right? So one of the fundamental reasons that Joe Biden lost was because the right was able to capitalize on messaging. Hey, Joey, this is me being objective. The Biden administration did a poor job messaging to middle-class America, kitchen table politics, right? About how, yes, we acknowledge that the inflation rate has come down, The costs are rising at a slower rate, but still impacting you. So they failed on that messaging. Same thing the Trump administration is doing, except it's worse for the Trump administration, right? It's worse for them because they're just denying the existence of inflation at all. They're just telling the American voters that don't ignore what you see. Ignore the fact that prices are going up. We're going to tell you that prices are coming down. This is the referendum on the incumbency, because you better fucking deliver on what you, especially economically, you better deliver on what you promise, because if you don't, you're going to get blowback. And we've already seen it in every single special election, the election of November 4th or 5th, across the board. I'm going to show you some staggering numbers from the Virginia election in just a moment. But for the realignment theorists, it's actually worse than it looks. From 2024 to 2025, Republicans lost the most support, 25 points on average, among the very voters they theorized would remake the GOP into a vast, multiracial working class coalition. This is the chart. I'm going to show you guys this, and we'll talk about it in just a moment. What you're going to see here, this is a result of Pew. And every single demographic in the Virginia election, every single demographic, male, so from a gender perspective, male, female, white, Hispanic, Latino, Black, Asian, other age groups, every single one. This was the 2024 margin. This is the 2025 margin. Everything shifted left. Every single demographic. In 2025, the same groups, hold on. Let's start with the voters who were supposed to cement the GOP's new coalition, non-white, working class, lower income, and young Americans. From 2020 to 2024, these three groups moved an average of 12 points towards Trump at the presidential level on vote margin, according to Pew. In 2025, the same groups snapped back to the left, this time by 25 points on average. This is exactly what you expect from an anti-incumbent election driven by economic anxiety and frustration at anti-democratic and far-right policy outcomes, and after a supposedly durable ideological realignment immediately falls apart. This is the data. This is from Pew. These are the exit polls from the Virginia election. Every single demographic listed went left. On average, 25 points. That is game over, politically speaking. That is game over. When you see what was arguably a 37-point swing, these groups went 12 points for Trump in the 2024 election, 25 points the other way in the Virginia election. It's a 37-point swing. You can see it. This is the margin from 6 to 3, from 15 to 30, right? Again, this is crazy. Those gaps are crazy. I've never seen anything like this. Every single demo went left. Every one. This is from Pew, okay? Even in the boomer groups. Look at this. 3 points for, and went the other way by 10. So every single demographic represented in this polling, from gender to age to ethnicity, these are economic indicators. This is just bad news across the board. The pronounced shift away from Republicans among the groups that powered Trump's 2024, this is the shift we're talking about. Non-white, lower income, and young voters all shifted towards Democrats at an above average rate. GOP vote margin fell by over 40 points among Asian American voters, 25 points among Hispanic Latino voters, and 26 points among voters aged 18 to 29 years of age. The gender gap persisted, but both halves moved left, men by 17 points and women by 29 points. Among voters who said the economy was their top issue, partisan trust on the economy moved 93 points towards Democrats. 93 points. That's mind-boggling. Moved 93 points towards Democrats between 2024 and this year's New Jersey and Virginia elections. Meanwhile, the share naming immigration as their top issue was broadly unchanged. In other words, the same inflation-driven anti-incumbent dynamic that hurt Democrats in 2024 turned around and hurt Republicans in 2025. The result should not have been a surprise to anyone who's been paying attention to the data. Sure, we can quibble around the exact margins, but based on the early vote and electoral environment, if you thought Mikey Sherrill's win was going to win by 1 point, or that she was going to lose, then I got a bridge I'd like to sell you. This is the support among black voters has fallen off a cliff. From the beginning of his presidency, Trump has cratered among the youngest cohort of voters. Every single demo across the board. Question is, well, how do we capitalize? Because when you combine that with approval ratings that are at 37%, this is why they are using things like redistricting to try to cheat, because they know they're going to lose. Now, I never would have thought that the Senate would be in play, but I think it is. I think the Senate is potentially in play. Now, I don't know what that looks like because it's going to be a big swing, but I think the Senate's in play because I think there are states that you wouldn't necessarily think would be in play. Susan Collins has always been able to figure out a way to win. I don't know if she will. Texas with John Cornyn? I don't know. I don't know. We will see. This is going to be a really, really interesting election. Your job is to vote. Your job is to bring other people to the polls. Your job is to make sure that you are doing everything that you can under the umbrella of do something to make sure that you're making a difference, because people are mad. People are angry. And it's the same thing that fueled Trump's victory in 2024. The economy. The economy. Add the economic disaster that we're in to everything else that they're doing. His hateful rhetoric, et cetera, et cetera. Remember, elections are decided by the middle, the independents. You've got the left and you've got the right. And I don't think that there's an extreme left, but sure, for the purpose of this conversation, you've got the far left, you've got the far right. They're the ones that get the most attention. But elections are decided by moderates. Elections are decided by independents. And the swing from an independence, they've always voted Democrat, but the margins got smaller and smaller in the last election. Right. But now independents are like, I am done with this nonsense. The support and endorsement from Donald Trump is like cancer now to elected Republicans. So they've got nowhere to go. They're going back to their home districts and they're getting decimated. They're going back and having town halls when they have them, and they're getting ripped apart by their own voters. Middle-class workers, union workers, farmers, every segment of our population. I think this is going to be synonymous across the board. Every area that they gained in 2024, because they did, not only have they lost what they gained, it's gone the other way. What do we need to do, friends? We need to vote. We need to be active. We need to be engaged, right? 2025 election was predictable in another way. If you view the 2024 election through the lens of political science instead of partisan priors, then the obvious conclusion was that voters were mad at Democrats because of inflation. That is absolutely true. No doubt about it. The implication of that for forecasting future elections was any incumbent party would be in trouble if the economic sentiment was sour again in the future. This is political science 101. Political science also tells us that voters are especially punishing of politicians who break their promises or move the policy outputs of the federal government significantly to the left or to the right. Republicans face a potentially pronounced midterm penalty for Trump's relentless pursuit of a historically unpopular agenda on immigration, government spending, especially for healthcare, and trade/tariffs. The evidence suggests we should interpret the Republicans' losses not just as a normal thermostatic reaction to the party in power, but a reflection of both profound anger and regret at the consequences of the 2024 election. The best explanation for 2025 is that voters didn't know what they were getting with Trump 2.0 last November, but now they do, and they don't like it. The independent middle is going to decide elections. Our job is to make sure that we keep the pressure on. So I thought that was a fascinating kind of breakdown. Primarily because, it's always about the economy, stupid. Every single year. We thought the 2022 midterms were going to be heavy on Roe, and it was. So this little breakdown tells you a lot. The expectation, remember the blue wave or the red wave? Remember that? Remember how, experts were going to go out there and they're going to talk about how, Republicans are going to win the majority by 40 or 50 seats, and they barely won the majority, like barely. That, I think, was the first crack in people realizing that the Republicans don't have a policy platform at all. So normally, in a situation like that, when inflation was high, there was instability, right? We had COVID. Normally, that would have been a referendum against the incumbency, and it wasn't. It wasn't. It should have been. And I think since then, because I have friends that work in Republican politics, right? That's what they've been saying for a very, very long time. That was a real test, and we failed miserably because what they're talking about does not resonate anymore because they don't have a policy platform to stand on. They've not had a policy platform to stand on in decades. It's been the same old, same old. It's going to increase the deficit, give tax breaks to the rich, go after public health, go after social safety net. That's just not popular. It's just not popular. Never has been. They've been able to enrich themselves quite a bit since then. And now you've got everything else. The cover-up of Epstein, their incompetence, their heavy-handed approach to immigration, all these things. Like if I said this from the beginning, if Trump had just, let me back up. If he had just accepted the election results of 2020 and just went about his business and then talked about things from a policy perspective, he could have arguably gone down as one of the most effective and influential presidents in American history. Because he would have accepted the defeat graciously. He would have moved on. He would have started campaigning on positive messaging. But no, he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that because narcissists can't accept defeat. Right? He can't peel himself back from that because that's just who he is. He could not accept the fact that he lost. He couldn't do it. So now getting reelected, if he had just left shit alone, not talked about tariffs, just said, look at how great the economy is doing because it was trending up, because it was, we were going historic job creation, unemployment rates continually low, record-breaking job performance, stock market was trending up. He could have just played golf every fucking day, and he could have taken credit for all of it, and we wouldn't be here. But he couldn't do it because he's a narcissist, because he's a fascist, and he wants to put his stamp on things even though he has no clue what he's doing. It's the people around him. So this is what happens when you don't have policy to stand on. You put all your eggs in one basket, and that's what he's done. He's tried to rely on the courts, and the courts have worked against him. The situation with Texas and the redistricting, that's going to fail. They're going to lose that case. Utah trying to sue now because their own court said you're violating the law here. We're going to carve out a Democrat seat. So these things happening are a result of not having anything to stand on that benefits the middle class. And voters are like, fuck this. This is bullshit. So Republican voters are either not going to show up and vote, most likely, or if they do show up, they may not be endorsing down ballot Republicans at all. Because Trump's no longer on the ballot. He's not on the ballot. He is not on the ballot. And we've seen every time he's not on the ballot, we've seen what has happened. Republicans have gotten smoked. And this is what's going to happen again. Okay, Arthur, get in the box. I know you're behind them, but I want to know why. See what I mean? Based on the conversation we had this morning, Arthur's like, liberal woke policies don't work. What's a liberal woke policy? Again, be specific. What do you stand for, Arthur? What do you stand for? Okay, let me cover a few other things here. I played this sound from this speech last night. I covered Lisa Murkowski, covered Caroline. I'm going to play some sound now from Iraqi war veteran and independent American podcaster. His name is Paul Rieckhoff. I've seen him before. I like him. He's a vet. He has an interesting take about the situation with the Super Six or the Heroic Six that are being investigated, because Alyssa Slotkins are being investigated now. Taxpayer dollars to go after to do what? It's a distraction, because of course they don't want people standing up to the administration, the fascist state. So this is Mr. Wyckoff explaining what he sees, the approach to calling veterans traitors, basically.
Investigating, or the Pentagon might recall Mark Kelly and court-martial him. They're thinking about that. The FBI is now trying to interview all of the lawmakers who were in that video, saying you can, or you have an obligation to not follow an illegal order. They specifically said illegal order. The White House has been trying to say that they didn't say illegal, to spin it. What are they doing?
They did
Paul?
say illegal.
I think it's the next phase of their full spectrum attack against their political opponents. And the one difference with Mark Kelly and all the other people you cited on that graphic is that this is using the Department of Defense. This is breaking glass that's never been broken before. We're crossing the Rubicon into some very deep authoritarian waters here. I mean, he's threatening a retired member of the military. He's threatening to pull him back on active duty, try him under the UCMJ for sedition. He also said he should be executed, right? And I think this should be alarm bells, not just for people in Congress, but for all Americans. There are 2 million military retirees in America. So if he can do this to Mark Kelly, he can do that to them too. And I think the chilling effect it will have across the Pentagon and across the civilian population, people who are out of the military.
Can you tell me what is the basis with which that they can actually get this going? I mean, he was very careful in his language, and all of these lawmakers, including Mark Kelly, who responded exclusively to Rachel Maddow last night, said this is in the handbook. This is in the military handbook. This is a code of conduct in the military handbook. Also, he's a senator, so isn't there a speech and debate issue as well?
I think this is a direct attack on free speech, but it doesn't mean they're not going to do it, right? And I think it will have a chilling effect. I think it will intimidate people. It will, encourage people to be reluctant to speak out, especially if they're not in Washington. They don't have legal defense, and they're worried about also the death threats that come with it, because that's a huge intimidation factor. Every one of those 6 is facing an overwhelming slew of death threats, and that has an impact too. So he's achieving his goal of squishing free speech, and he's attacking his political enemies, but he's using the Department of Defense. And this might be the first of a new wave to come using that tool.
It brings up some great points, right? This is authoritarianism 101. And again, like we went through this exercise when we talked about how, the things that MAGA claims to stand for, right? And we discussed it yesterday. We discussed a little bit more today. The things that they claim to stand for, they claim to stand for veterans. How can you possibly say that? How can you possibly say that you stand for veterans? Mark Kelly is a bona fide fucking hero. Dude took fucking fire, flew through anti-aircraft to drop his payload, had a missile explode next to his jet, an astronaut multiple times. That guy, you think, is a traitor? This is what happens when you've been conditioned into the cult. This is what happens when you've been told a series of lies. You should be thankful for people like Mark Kelly, standing up for your rights, defending your rights, going to war to defend your rights and freedoms that you claim to love so much. Think about the 2 prominent names that Donald Trump has diminished: John McCain and Mark Kelly. One a Republican, one a Democrat. Both of them serve their country with honor. Both of them put their life on the line for you, MAGA. Both of them should be revered. Both of them should be respected. And both of them came under the fire of the president. Why? Because they spoke out against him. That's a weird flex. That's a really, really weird flex. I don't know why I would do that. And he left. Seriously, why would you not? Instead, what you guys are doing now is all these people that have served, you again claim to be pro-veteran. Sorry. Nope. You can't be anymore. You're not pro-veteran. You're not pro-military. You're not. You're not pro-law enforcement. You're pro-criminal. You're pro-crime. You're anti-veteran. You're anti-military. You're anti-American. How you degrade immigrants, our entire country was built under that premise. Bring me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. Our entire country is built on that premise. Our entire country is built on the rule of law and due process and the expansion of rights and freedoms and liberties. The gleaming building on the hill, or whatever he called it, Reagan called it. The entire country was built on that. And MAGA, y'all are traitors. You don't care about the American experiment. You don't care. You do not care. Once again, people on the left, people in the middle, independents, recognize that. Beacon on the hill. Thank you, Francis. You're right. We recognize it. We see what the American experiment, fractured, broken, absolutely. But it is the basis for our country. It's how we were established. The argument that people want to make now is that white people are the original inhabitants of our land? Really? Why don't you speak to a member of an indigenous tribe today, as a matter of fact? Today would be a good day to do that. And ask them their opinion on that. Again, you're fueled with hatred, not because you necessarily hate these people, but because you were told to. You were told to do that. You were told to hate immigrants. Why? They're not doing anything to you. Yes, 2 days ago, before the video came out from Mark Kelly and Elise Stefanik, not Elise Stefanik, God no, Alyssa Slotkin. Before that, you could make the argument that you were pro-veteran, pro-military, but not now. Not now. I literally watching live yesterday and late night last night. People, MAGA supporters, calling for execution of these individuals. Based on what? Based on what? You have been lied to and manipulated. And your family, if you're this dude, is doing you a favor by allowing you to sit at their table today. It's just wild. Why? Would you walk up to Mark Kelly in person and call him a traitor? Of course you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't. You would never do that. Would you have walked up to John McCain and said that he's not a war hero because he got captured? Of course you wouldn't. Do you want to vilify the gentleman who shot at the National Guard troops in D.C. last night? You want to? You can. You can blame him if you want to, but understand something. Again, this is another example of gun violence as an epidemic in our nation that we need to address. That's going to be the common theme through this entire conversation. But that person and others, 76,000, were assisting American soldiers on the ground, airmen on the ground in Afghanistan. That person was granted asylum under the Trump administration this year. But you're going to find a way to blame that person too. And sure, he's a shooter. Absolutely. We can be consistent on that. But you want to make it about immigration again because you'll listen to, okay, Thomas, because you'll listen to the rhetoric. Why? Why? Again, what do you stand for? Do you stand for the military? You can't claim to and think that Mark Kelly, of all people, is a traitor? MTG is apparently a traitor now, too, because she spoke out against the president? Why? Why would you want to put yourself in that position? Why would you want to be, again, people are going to look back on this. They're going to ask you some stark questions. I can be asked questions in 10 years, what I stood for, and I'll proudly say what I stood for. Are you going to do the same? They're going to ask you who you voted for. Are you going to be honest? When retribution happens, because it will, because people in this administration will be investigated for their crimes against the Constitution, their crimes against humanity, and they will be held accountable. Most likely Donald Trump won't be. But they're going to be asked who you voted for and what you stood for. And how are you going to answer that question? Have you thought about that? You don't care. Again, everybody in here wants you to have health care because we want you to have access to mental health care as well. But you don't see it that way. Thomas just thinks I'm lying. What am I lying about, Thomas? Have I said something that's not true? You can, I sent you an invite. I don't know why you won't come up and address it. Why? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? It's unfortunate for you, but this is where we sit now. Thank you. That's cool. We're in this space now, right? Where you're going to attempt to blame everybody else, which is by the script. Don't you understand how much you've been indoctrinated? Calling out what we see. You find a news agency that reports on what we see, and you'll call it fake. We'll look at statistics. We'll ask you the question, why hasn't the president released the economic numbers? And you're going to blame who for that? Democrats broke it, according to Caroline Leavitt? Really? Maybe the information just is really bad. Ever thought about that? Maybe the information is just really, really bad. And your commander and thief doesn't want you to see it. You ever thought about that? Have you thought about that before? Maybe? Niles, you requested before. I sent you an invite. Come up and talk to me. You sound indoctrinated. You haven't even talked to anybody. I talk to between 1,000 and 2,000 people every single day, 5 days a week. People can talk to me if they want to. This is a reminder, though, of what it is that you stand for. Because from my perspective, I don't think you stand for anything other than hatred towards others, especially if they're marginalized. Not willing to accept that white privilege exists. Not willing to understand that your mediocrity you see as caused by marginalized communities, especially women. But no, it's somebody else. You've got to blame somebody else. Why? Why? Why is that? It's weird to me. It's just a weird thing. Hi, Ollie. How are you today?
Hi. Can you hear me?
How you doing? Yes, I can.
Okay. I've been up with you a couple times in the last few months, and main reason I want to come up is just to say happy Thanksgiving, but also I really appreciate you having a consistent space. I love a schedule. I love knowing I can see you first thing in the morning. For me, it's also been a healing space. The first time I joined was the day you were covering the survivors press conference, and I joined with my story. So it was really healing. I revisited that day multiple times, and it was really healing, and I appreciate that. But also, just in the last year, it's been a really tough year for me, for my family, for the country, and you've just provided a comfortable, supportive, hopeful space, and that's why I want to thank you too. So that's all. I just wanted to share my appreciation for you, as I'm sure most of your viewers and friends appreciate you the same. So thank you.
I appreciate you saying that, Ollie. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you. Be safe out there, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks. We're all in this together, right? I mean, we're all in this together. We're all trying to do the work. We're all trying to remind people what's at stake here. And those of us who are, those of us who have, again, I recognize my white privilege and my privilege as a man to be able to do this. I know that the TikTok algorithm does not support women who believe the same things that I believe when they try to do their own platforms. So any chance you get to try to find creators who are women, non-binary individuals, please support them. Please show them the love and support that you guys show me every single day, especially black women, especially black spaces. If you're out trolling on or just doom scrolling, whatever it might be in TikTok, and you come across a creator who does not look like me, just sit and listen. Try to learn, right? Try to learn. Try to promote what they do. Try to stand for the thing, or just sit and listen to hear. Listen to what they're talking about and how they're talking about it, right? And then, fellas, do better. just do better, right? Raise your kids to think about the things, to see the world from a positive perspective. It's not, everything is not, you're not under threat, especially if you're a white man in America. You're not the victim. You ain't the victim of shit. You're not the victim of shit. You are the ones, you collectively, okay? You're the ones that have created this mess. System built by people who look like me to benefit people who look like me, to protect people who look like me. Enough. Enough. Advocate for change. Advocate for the matriarchy. Give the keys of the car to women and get the fuck out of the way and let them fix shit. Let them fix it. Let them fix it, because they will. Because they will prioritize things that will make our entire society better. They'll prioritize education. They'll prioritize public health. They'll prioritize equity. They'll prioritize programs that benefit society. They'll go after tax cheats. They'll go after price gouging. They'll go after all of that, all of the corruption that was created by white men. They'll go after it. They'll go after it and they'll fix it. They'll clean up the fucking mess and then they'll do it again. And it's going to take white men, which is still the single biggest voting bloc that votes Republican. It's going to take not many, 2 or 3 points, 2 or 3 percentage points across the board. That's how we fix shit. Unapologetically. Get the fuck out of the way. Get the fuck out of the way. Give the keys of the car to the queens and get the fuck out of the way. Now, my mods know me. People want to say, oh, that's performative. It's not. It's not. I've seen enough. I have seen enough. I hope it happens in my lifetime. I just look at other examples from around the world. I look at countries around the world who have women that are in leadership positions, and their societies are what I want. That's the kind of society that I want. They prioritize education. They prioritize public health. They prioritize economic decency and equity and fairness. I want that. Thank you for saying that, Heather. Seriously, I want it to be different, and we can't get different if it's the same old fucking script. If you're concerned about the corruption, then look at the people who've caused it. Look at the people who are participating in it. Somebody said that. Somebody said this the other day. Women make eyeballs and spinal columns in their bodies. I think they can fix government. But that's just me. Phaser, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
It's my first time ever being on your live, and I was like, I'm nervous, but I'm going to do it.
Don't be nervous.
You're awesome. Speaking on what you were just saying about handing women the key, I did drop a design idea for that premise in the Discord. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but I couldn't agree more. I think it's hilarious that men keep saying, oh, women are too emotional, blah, 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 all that crap.
Yeah.
It's absolutely absurd because women run everything in every man's day-to-day life. And you're going to try to tell me they can't run the country? Don't think so. So I couldn't agree more. Women have the compassion that is needed. And, but I just wanted to let you know, I dropped a design idea for that I threw together in the Discord, and
thank you.
I wanted to tell you thank you so much. I listen to you every morning. One of my favorite creators. Recommend you to lots of people because you're good factual information. And you said earlier to somebody, that in response to someone thanking you, you were saying thank you for trusting me. And I just wanted to say, you have earned everyone's trust. Because you've done the work and you've proven yourself to be an ally, a safe space. Because I know you won't say it, but I can say it. and others can say it. And you've earned that. So take your damn flowers, Steve.
Okay. Deal. I will.
I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you, Phaser. And we will find the design that you shared. And thank you for saying that along. I appreciate that. And thanks for the kind words. I appreciate you. Be safe out there. Okay.
You're very welcome.
All right. Bye.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. It matters to me. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm taking my flowers. I promise. I really appreciate the kindness. I really do. It means a lot to me. It means a lot, but it's not about that. It's about this, right? We're all in this together. And if I'm privileged to be able to do this every single day. I mean, that's the advantage of working for yourself. I set my own schedule. I do what I want. My clients are off. My clients are all taking the week off. So I've got time in my hands. And when I have time in my hands, it's not always good. I'm not good in the idle time kind of things. I need to be doing something. But we have created this community together, and we have found a common goal, realizing that we can't fix it by ourselves. We need people willing to do the work. Whether that be running for office, I do play the guitar a lot. Whether it's running for office, whether it's volunteering in your community, that's the big push. Because I believe activism's a muscle, right? I believe that you have to exercise that muscle like anything else. So the more you do it, the easier it becomes to do it, the more it becomes habitual. And I want activism. I want people involved in their communities, helping a neighbor, helping friends that you don't know, doing whatever's necessary, the littlest things. And I know some people don't have the luxury of being able to be either mobile or to get out on their own, but that doesn't mean you can't do stuff. I mean, we've had people in our community reach out to me that they're like, I can't do anything. I'm a good artist. Would you mind if I sent you a picture? And I'm like, I'd love that. And people have sent me pictures. That's doing something, right? That can manifest in a variety of ways. I believe in the human spirit. I really do. Maybe I'm naive in that regard. I don't know. Maybe. But I believe in that. And people in our community that the biggest thing that I've noticed, about the community that we've created is that people really fucking care. It's given me faith. It's given me hope. Yes, I'm not going to break bread with Nazis, and I'm not. But people are willing to say, I want that person who politically I despise, I want their life to be better. I want them to have health care. I don't want their kids to worry about eating food. I don't want their families to be under threat of economic ruin. We don't get that from the right. They don't give a shit about anybody but themselves. We see it every single day. So that's what's impressed me the most about what we do here, is just that level of acknowledgement that there are more important things, people that we don't even know. I say this a lot. I care more about the children of the most dedicated MAGA person there is more than they do. And they don't like that. They don't like that. They don't like a nail polished, silver haired progressive saying that they care more about their kids than they do. But it's the truth. It's the truth. We want society to be better. How do we get it to be better? That's on us. When we look at polling numbers and we look at data, it's important. But at the end of the day, the data is irrelevant. What's relevant is what you do with it. Now, if you are in Tennessee, you've got an opportunity to really blow the lid off of everything that MAGA stands for by voting, by turning out and voting for Afton. Imagine what that would look like. Can you imagine the earthquake that would send across the country if a 22-point Trump district flipped to a Democrat? That would be incredible. There's no excuses. Yes, vote for Victoria. Absolutely. There'd be they've got nothing. They've got nothing. They can't blame it on anybody other than themselves. This is the fight, friends, that we're in. And politics is not going to solve everything, but it's important. It's extremely important because it makes the next generation and the next generation realize that, yeah, I can make a difference. I can make a difference. I can be part of something bigger than me. And that's what I want. So thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate it. All right, where was I? I'm all speechless. I want to go back to Victoria's race is next year. She's in the midterm cycle. So Bitch Boy has been absolutely. So those of you who don't know that have just followed us over here, I have a little thing with Mike Johnson. I call him my Bitch Boy. I just think it's appropriate. He's being interviewed with Caitlin Collins. This goes back a while, but it's still about the healthcare debate and how they don't have a solution to it. So here you go.
That his party had a healthcare plan and it was ready to go. Listen to this.
Is if the government reopened tonight, would Republicans have a plan to address the Obamacare subsidies?
Yes.
You would have a plan
we
tonight.
have proposals to, we could have that ready immediately. Yes.
Well, it has been more than a month since that interview, and still there is no plan. Remember this moment. Late John McCain and his famous thumbs down that killed the Republican replacement to Obamacare, that was 8 years ago. That means Republicans had 8 years to come up with an alternative, and still there's nothing. So after that McCain moment, Trump tweeted that lawmakers should let Obamacare implode, and then they'll be forced to create a new plan. And earlier this month, he posted that Obamacare, quote, sucks. But it turns out that the centerpiece of the Trump plan is to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Well, that's something the Democrats had demanded during the shutdown. Mike Johnson said that his party had a health care plan.
So I think it's just important to recognize, right, that a galvanizing issue for Americans during the last 50 days has been affordability around healthcare. The president has changed his tune quickly. Well, it's politically convenient for him to say, oh, yeah, let's just extend the Obamacare subsidies. But members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, they're divided. They're not united on that front. So I know that the 8 senators who decided to vote with Republicans, I know that caused a lot of uneasiness in the Democratic Party. And a lot of people were angry and disappointed. And I took a lot of heat because I came out with a minority opinion on that. Well, in hindsight, friends, what I suggested was a part of the political gamesmanship was to put the burden on solving the healthcare problem directly on Republicans. And here it is. Now we can go, I don't want to go back in time. We can debate that again. But there, I saw through what was happening because I knew part of what they wanted to do was to say, okay, they're not going to negotiate this. We're going to put the entire burden on their plate. They said they would if we open the government. We open the government, nothing. So this is what they've got now. So millions of Americans, and I mentioned the exercise earlier, insurance companies have already adjusted their premiums. Their prices have already gone up. Everybody across the board is going to pay more for healthcare because of Republicans. Because of Republicans. Seriously. So they've got to solve this because it's a divisive issue in their own caucus. Some people want to support it. Some people not willing to support it. Mike Johnson's not going to bring the vote to the floor because he knows it will likely pass. They want to extend the ACA subsidies. Why would he not want to bring it to the floor? If you had a plan, why would you not want to bring it to the floor? So here we are, right, in a situation where, again, the prioritization of a particular political party is not to provide solutions for the middle class. They're not interested. They have no interest in doing it. What the right is talking about now is this health savings account. It's because people on the right don't know how insurance works. You just don't know. $2,000 tariff money, use it to pay down the debt. That was the promise. That's why Republicans in the Senate and the House are not supporting what Trump initially proposed. Come up with a comprehensive plan. I've said this a million times. Call it whatever the fuck you want. If it's a healthcare plan, call it, Big Mac healthcare, sponsored by the Trump administration. Call whatever the fuck you want. If it makes life easier for myself and my family and others, and we can afford it, then sign me the fuck up. Don't care. We don't play that bullshit. I want good policy. You give me good policy, and I'll support good policy. I haven't seen any. And that's the difference between us on the left and people on the right. The Inflation Reduction Act, good policy. The infrastructure bill, good policy. The Chips and Science Act, good policy. The PACT Act, good policy. People on the right would never say that. They would never say that. But if Donald Trump initiated that policy, they would be like, this is the best policy you've ever seen. That's what partisan politics and indoctrination does. Be objective. It's not that hard. Just be objective. All right. A couple other little things that have been happening, out there in the world. As I just discussed, Mike Johnson has told the White House that Republicans are not interested in extending the ACA subsidies. I don't know why. Well, maybe because they need the money to pay for their tax cuts potentially. I don't know. Maybe just a bit. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Steve. Just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to you, buddy.
You too, sir. You too.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you. You and this community have been a big part of my life this past year. And, it's been a rough year at times. So just knowing that you have that consistency, and you're going to be there every morning, and I can sit and listen and join in when I want to. It's been a big help to me this year. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the feeling mutual. You're part of our family too. I appreciate it. Anything exciting going on today?
Oh yeah, well, my wife actually she's working today. She had to work. They always switch out. She works at a hospital and they always switch off holidays. So she's working today. But I'm here with my son. I'm really. You're going to be jealous. I'm here cleaning the litter box as we speak.
Oh, I need to do that.
I know. Well, calm down, right?
I'm with you. I know. My gosh, dude, you lead such an exciting life.
I know. I got to calm down a little bit. I know. But hey, I wanted to point out to you. You've been talking a lot lately about good policy. Give me good policy. Talking about policy. Yeah. Have you noticed the past week or so how much the Orange Menace has been bringing up those two words, good policy? Like he was talking about every time he doesn't mention what the policies are, but he's like, well, everybody wants to be this because it's good policy, because of our good policy and everything. And
correct.
We have no idea what those policies are, but it's like he's hearing that he doesn't talk about policy. So if he just throws the word policy out there, now I've talked about policy. Perfect.
Well, it's because they're seeing the tea leaves, right? Because they don't have good policy, and they need to push back against their bullshit. But you're right. Listen, thanks for being part of our family, Drew. I appreciate you, man. Good luck with your
always, man.
Your task. Thanks.
Enjoy your Chinese food, my friend.
I will. See you later. All right, bye. I definitely will. I will certainly enjoy I have to figure out what I want for my Chinese food. I don't know yet. I have to figure it out. I'll just go down the list. Good morning, Carlos. How are you today?
I'm good.
What's on your mind?
Well, I mean, your chat was asking me to come up because I was commenting Mexicans for Trump, so I'm here. Love to have a conversation. Okay. I love to be questioned. I love to answer all the questions you guys have for me.
Okay. So we're 11 months in, 10 and a half months in. How do you think the administration's doing? The only thing I ask, this is what I ask, okay? I have two rules. If you're asked a question, please don't answer a question with a question. And if you're going to make a claim for something, please source it. And if you can't source it, then don't make the claim. Okay?
Sure.
Fair enough?
So far, I think it's been great.
Okay, so let's be objective. All right, so give me an example. Give me an example of what you think's been great.
Sure, the southern border.
Okay, what about it?
I like that he stopped catch and release. I like that he declared the CTELs terrorist organizations. I like that he declared a national emergency. I like that he appointed 600 new immigration judges.
Okay, let's take it one at a time.
Sure.
Let's take it one at a time. So part of the push on immigration would be masked thugs roaming American cities. Are you okay with that?
I don't know. I'm not okay with masked thugs, but I am okay with ICE.
But the ICE are masked thugs.
Correlate the two. Can you source that they're masked thugs?
You've not ever seen.
You just made a claim. What's your source for that?
Video
that they're thugs.
Well, how would you describe them? Are they not masked?
I would describe them as federal officers. How would you describe? How would you describe?
Wait a minute, Carlos.
Sure.
Wait a minute. How would we know that they're federal agents if they're not identifying themselves?
Well, they usually have these things on their chest that say ICE.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean, again,
CBP.
though, that's just something, right?
Yeah, I'm not in favor of any bounty hunters.
So,
that's one thing
again,
I'm against.
Carlos, remember, you can't answer questions with questions. So how do we know that? How do we know that they're federal agents?
I just told you by the markings on their gear.
By their markings, have they produced warrants every time they pull somebody over?
What was that?
Are they using search warrants?
Yes, they're using administrative warrants. Yes.
Are they in every circumstance?
I couldn't tell you every circumstance, could I?
So then, can we assume that they're not? We know that from the evidence.
No, we cannot assume that they're not since it's legally required.
Well, we can assume that they're not because we know
really,
that.
If you have a source for that, sure.
We know that through court cases. We do. We know that through court cases. We've seen the video. People basically, illegally detaining individuals, illegally detaining American citizens. Are you okay with that?
If it's produced in a court that they illegally detain someone, then no, I would not be okay with that.
Well, it's happened numerous times.
Yeah, if it has been proven in court they illegally detained someone?
Yes.
What was their name?
I think her name was Maria Martinez. She was the one there was that famous video of ICE agents ramming her car. And she basically got beaten. She's an American citizen. The case was dismissed. Why? Why would that happen? That's one example. We can go through the list and pull up dozens more. Are you okay with that happening?
Yeah, I don't think they should have dismissed that case. I think they were pretty lenient. I think that if she used her vehicle to block ICE agents, she should be arrested.
She did not. No, she did not. She did not.
Well, I watched the video.
Her vehicle was rammed by ICE agents.
That's what happens when you put your vehicle in front of an ICE vehicle, yeah, and try to stop them from moving.
No, that's not what happened.
That vehicle will hit your vehicle.
They blocked her, sir, and they rammed her car.
Who was in front of who?
Again,
was she in front of the ICE agents?
Why did the judge? Why, sir? That's been
You're answering a question with another question. Was her vehicle in front of ICE agents' vehicles?
Her vehicle was rammed by ICE agents. That's the body cam footage that we have. I did answer the question.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Was her vehicle
I did answer the question.
It's a yes or no. Was her vehicle in front of the ICE agent's vehicle?
She was in front of the ICE agents. They rammed her vehicle, and then they cut her off and pulled her out of the car. We've all seen the video.
I mean,
We've all seen the video.
I see the video where her car is in front of the ICE agents. Just because your car is standing still and the other car hits you, doesn't mean you're not at fault.
Please pay attention. She was an American citizen.
Okay. What does that have to do with you rammed?
Because they profiled her,
Carlos. So now it's not about the collision. Now it's not about the vehicle collision. Now it's about profiling.
No, it's absolutely about the collision because they profiled.
So it has nothing. Which one is it then?
Carlos, can you please stop talking?
Can you stop being disingenuous? Which one is it?
No, can you stop being an asshole so we can have a conversation?
Dude, I'm being as nice as I can to you. You're being disingenuous.
You're not. You're interrupting. I'm not. Listen to the conversation. Listen to what I'm telling you. Okay.
I heard you.
Why would they have pulled her over?
Because they got into a collision.
Okay, so they got into a collision and then they went to her car and pulled her out of her car.
Yes.
What gives Customs and Border Patrol the right to do that?
So I have to check if it was actually ICE doing that. But as long as
it was. Okay. You said you saw the video, Carlos. It was ICE.
Okay.
They were masked.
Wait, how could you tell they were ICE if you said they were unidentifiable? How did you know they were ICE?
They were masked. Because they were masked.
So if I wear a mask, I'm ICE?
If are you pulling people out of cars?
See how your logic doesn't make sense here? So first she was profiled. Hold on, let me make my argument.
You haven't answered. No, you haven't answered the question.
Why did they pull her out?
Why did they pull an American citizen out? Are they law enforcement?
No.
Okay, so why did they pull her out of the car?
Because she got into a collision with their car and they saw that as her stopping them from performing legal duties. She obstructed, according to them. That was their argument. That's not my argument. That was their argument. They pulled her over for obstruction.
That case got thrown out and dismissed because the judge
amazing. Good for her.
So Carlos, why did they pull an American citizen out of her car.
Did I not just answer that? Did I not just answer that? Because for obstruction.
They're not law enforcement, are they?
Didn't I answer that part too?
They're not law enforcement.
You're right. They're federal officers.
Well, they're Customs and Border Patrol officers.
They're not federal officers?
Immigration officers.
Are they federal? Are immigration officers federal officers?
They're not law. I said law enforcement. Federal officers, yes, but are they law enforcement, Carlos?
Such a disingenuous conversation for some reason.
Carlos, it's a simple question. It's a simple.
Yeah,
question.
No, I have no problem with ICE detaining people, pulling people out of vehicles.
American citizens?
No, I have no issue.
American citizens?
No issue.
You have no problem with that?
No issues.
No. Okay, that's because you're a pathetic piece of shit. Get the fuck out of here. You see, this is the problem, right? This is the problem. When your hatred shows up, ladder puller, this is what happens. It's a simple question. ICE is not law enforcement. Hey, Zeus, good to see you. They're not law enforcement. And you just admitted that you're totally fine with masked thugs pulling American citizens out of their cars. Okay? I just want you on the record, because lives are recorded. I might even do a little tribute to you, Carlos. You just admitted that you're fine with that, which is an interesting take, I must say. No, Carlos, you're not coming back in. You've proved to us that you're a piece of shit. Make sure you have some extra turkey today. Carlos does hate himself. That girl, how are you today? Hi, Lisa.
Hey, hi, Steve. Hi, how are you doing? So, yeah, that guy is a total ladder puller. I've seen him on other lives, and it's the same old thing. It's the same old thing. It's like the fear of them being targeted themselves makes them be okay with pulling the ladder up behind them for, I guess, protectionism. I don't know. That's as far as my theory goes with it. I haven't really thought about too much, but that's as far as I can figure it. But I came up.
And by the way, Carlos reported our live, friends. That just shows how weak you are. Mods, would you mind taking out the trash, please? Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
God, what POS. Anyway, I came up here, Steve, because you and I and Danny were in a bit of a heated discussion about 2 weeks ago on Danny's live about the Democrats caving. And I wanted to come because I will admit when I was wrong, and I was wrong. You were right, I was wrong. What you said about that it was going to be a good thing in the long run. And I actually even made a video saying that it ended up being good in the long run because you had a situation where these 8 Democrats kind of were like sacrificial lambs, right? And they went out there and they got people their they got people their food stamps, and federal employees paid, me included, thank you. And then the rest of the party got to stand 10 toes down with the base, to say, no, we're going to fight on health care. And now it's actually going to turn out pretty good for the Democrats in the long run and pretty good for the country in the long run, which is what you were saying. I think so. Yeah. Well, I do. I think it was.
I appreciate you saying that, Lisa. I mean, I really appreciate you saying that. It wasn't my intention to make it, eventually, I'm going to be right. I just tried to offer from a different perspective, and I just kind of saw the tea leaves, and that's what the tea leaves told me. So I appreciate you saying that. I really do.
Yeah, of course. Like, and because I know a lot of people, like people in the comments and stuff, who are like, no. And people still, a lot of people argued with me on the video I made, but, I think that people are going to see that this was a masterful move by the Democrats. I think it was a strategy. I don't think it was just happenstance. I do think it was a strategy, and I think it's going to be good. And I wanted to tell you that. And happy Thanksgiving, guys. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. Same things to you. Have a good, safe day. Enjoy. Have an extra helping of turkey on me. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. See you later. Yeah, it's just a weird kind of thing, but I know politics. I got to tell you, I get the game. So that's why I mentioned it. JDM, how are you today?
Good.
What's on your mind?
Well, I have a basic question for you. Who do you consider to be worse, ICE or the cartels?
ICE.
Do you think ICE, the ones that don't chop people up and hang them?
Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? You asked me a question.
Yeah, I'm trying to ask
you.
you. That's what I'm trying to ask you. Why do you think they're worse? They're not the ones chopping people into little pieces.
No, let's not use that rhetoric. You don't need to do that. Okay, you don't have to use bullshit to try to get the live taken down. Just have a conversation.
You don't think that's true? You don't think they're hurting people?
Can we have a conversation? Do you want?
Yes. Tell me why ICE is worse.
So, okay, I'll tell you why. Because ICE is violating the rights of people in our country. The cartel's always been a threat, but ICE walking up to people and literally pulling them out of their car, American citizens, is a violation of all the things that you as an American should stand for. Why don't you stand for that?
Stand for Americans' rights, but I'm still failing to understand how detaining someone, say, against the rights is worse than, for example,
because it's a violation of our law.
And that's worse than unaliving them and raping them?
Again, we're talking about violations of the law, sir. I'm sorry, what?
I said, can we just be genuine? Which one's worse, the one that rapes and unalives, or the one that detains and deports?
You're making an assertion that every single person that's being detained and or arrested is a member of the cartel.
Wait. That's not what I said at all.
Wait a minute. You asked me a question. What I thought was worse, and my answer is ICE is violating the rights of American citizens between our borders. Now, if you want to talk about severity of crimes, the question I have for you is, why are you okay with ICE detaining, arresting, and pulling American citizens out of their cars?
So you're going to deflect, but I'll answer that.
No, I'm not deflecting. I'm asking the question. Are you okay with that?
I have full trust in federal officers that have taken an oath to uphold the law. That's fine with me. I don't have full trust in cartel
members. Answer my
members.
question, please. You haven't answered the question. Are you okay with ICE illegally detaining people, pulling American citizens out of their vehicles?
Illegally, no. Legally, yes.
What would be legally?
Whatever is legally available for them to do. I'm okay with them following the law, just like I said.
What law are they following if they're illegally detaining people?
I just said if they're illegally detaining someone, I don't support that. If they're legally detaining someone, I do support that.
But that's what they're doing.
So
that's what they're doing.
Okay, so ICE agents can detain someone that is later proven to be a U.S. citizen, or detain someone that is claiming to be a U.S. citizen.
But how would you know it? How would you know it?
How would you know what?
How would you know? How do you determine whether or not somebody is illegal? In your words, how would you determine that?
They run them through a system.
How? What system?
Once they get to what? Why are you deflecting so hard from the fact that you think ICE is worse than the cartels?
I'm asking.
How do they know if they're illegal?
How do you determine that?
They have systems, sir.
What system?
I don't work for ICE, sir.
So
I'm not a federal agent.
How would you determine? So if you were an ICE agent, and you're driving.
Can ICE determine if someone's legal or illegal?
How?
I'm asking you. Do you think they can't?
How would they? I'm asking you. How would they? How would they do that?
I told you they have systems.
What system?
I'll look it up for you. I'll correct you, so then you can address why you think cartels are safe.
I never said safe. I absolutely never said safe.
You said that they're better than ICE. That's right.
No, I never. No, I never said that either.
Okay, so it says they have initial documentation inspection. They have self-reporting. They have database.
So what's the justification? What's the justification for detaining somebody?
Wait, sir, you asked me what systems. They use database queries like Enforcement Alien Removal Module, EARM. They use Person-Centric Query Service, PCQS. They use this thing called E-Verify and this thing called the National Crime Information Center, the NCIC. That's what they use to check if someone is legal or illegal.
How would you determine that unless you detain someone?
Okay. So, I mean, they can go up to anyone. An ICE agent can ask anyone, hey, are you a legal citizen? And depending on your answer, they can go off of that.
Wait a second. Are you saying that they can profile somebody and walk up to them and ask them questions?
Is that what I said? No, I don't think so. I said ICE can ask anybody.
I'm asking you.
I said,
really?
No, that's not what I said. I said ICE can ask anybody.
No, they can't.
Sure, wait, so you can't speak freely with anyone?
Again,
what's the Fifth Amendment, right? Can you plead the Fifth?
Sure, you don't have to answer.
Oh, amazing. Isn't that beautiful?
But again, But again, why would they be approaching?
So isn't it
someone?
cool how there's protections against ICE, but none against cartels?
JD,
Why do you
JD,
think that is?
Why, JD? Why again? This is not looking good for you. I'm trying to get you to answer.
You
some
literally
simple
said
questions.
ICE is worse than cartels. This doesn't look good at all for you. You're a sheltered white man that's never had to deal with real crime. You think federal officers are a problem, but clandestine terrorists are not.
You're crashing.
That's the crazy part.
You're crashing. You're crashing. Let's try to go back to the question.
Fine. Can you just address?
I would just like you to.
Why can't you stand 10 toes on the shit you said?
I would just like you to answer the question.
I thought I've answered so many, but go ahead.
You haven't answered one.
I'll answer all the questions you ask as long as you answer one.
So what ICE is doing, from my perspective, is racially profiling people.
Oh, from your perspective,
arresting American citizens.
As a white man.
Well, we've seen it happen.
Yeah, as a brown man, I don't see that.
Because you support it, though. You've already told us, Carlos, that you support this.
But I thought it doesn't matter if you support it. I thought you're brown, they're going to get you.
So you are, Carlos. You can get the fuck out of here. See what I mean? This is the problem. This is the problem. It's a simple question. They are racially profiling people. Now, do I support the cartels? Of course I don't support the fucking cartels. You asked me a question. What do I think is worse? ICE is fucking worse because they are a Gestapo type of law enforcement entity. They are masked fucking thugs. Period. That's who they are. And you support this shit? Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. Come on. Stop. Alligator Alcatraz is kind of another fake account. Carlos, get the fuck out of here. Okay? Just get out of here. We don't want you. We've taken out the trash enough times. It's a really simple question. Just answer it. It's a simple question. Dibney, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good, Steve. I just wanted to jump up and tell you that I am thankful for you. I was new to politics last year, and I have learned so much from you in the past year. Like, you're my favorite newsman, you're my civics professor, you're amazing. And I really appreciate all that I've learned from you in the past year.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you, Dibney. That's very kind. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Have a happy Thanksgiving, Steve.
Same to you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you very much. That's very kind. Thank you, guys. I think I saw Zeus say this. Hey, Zeus, good to see you. People who are breaking the law under the claims that they're enforcing the law are the worst. They're the worst. I mean, you can't defend it. And this is the problem with MAGA that try to spin themselves into pretzel logic. I dare none of you will ever stand up and say ICE should not be detaining American citizens. Period. They should not be doing it. ICE should not be racially profiling people. Judges are under assault in our country from the Trump administration. They're not masking up when they sit behind the bench. Elected members of Congress are now getting bomb threats from pussy-ass bitch white boys on the right. They're not masking up. Law enforcement's out in the street every single day. They're not masking up. But the cowardice, pathetic, fucking proud boy, weak-ass, mediocre white men have to mask up because they're afraid. They're pulling American citizens out of their vehicles. They're zip-tying children. This is what you guys voted for. You'd be better off just standing 10 toes down and saying, I don't give a fuck if American citizens are being detained. If they're brown, I definitely don't care. If they're black, abso-fucking-lutely detain them. If they're women, yeah, fuck them too. If they're queer, yeah, fuck all them. It would just be better off if you just said that because we know what you mean by it. You don't care. You just don't give a shit. You don't care. You cannot justify what you saw. We saw the tape. We know what happened. We know that the case got dismissed, and I still tried to double down. Kristi Noem violated a judge's order by not turning that plane around that sent people to Venezuela or to El Salvador. They violated the law, taking people's rights away. You guys are okay with that because of what? Because you're afraid of brown-skinned people? Especially you, Carlos. You pull up the fucking ladder behind you. Give me a break. Give me a break. Well, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
I am grateful for you. You know that.
Appreciate you saying that.
I just want to make a quick reminder to those people who don't seem to see a problem with the occupation that we have in our cities and with ICE going around being the modern day brown shirts. From the immortal words of Benjamin Franklin, those who would give up essential freedoms for temporary protection deserve neither.
Well said.
What are you giving up for perceived protection? That's all I've got.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Frances has been one of my mods like from the very beginning. So hearts in the chat for Frances, please, y'all. She keeps me sane. We spoke yesterday, talked me off the ledge like she always does. I appreciate you very much, friend. I love you immensely.
Love you too.
Have a good day. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Hey, bye. It's true. It's true. Somebody said in the chat, host would rather live next door to a member of the cartel than a member of ICE. And yeah, I would. Because I would know the enemy as opposed to masked fucking cowards. Masked fucking cowards. Pathetic. Pathetic. Pathetic cowards they are. Pathetic. And guess what? They're going to get a reckoning as well. There's going to be a knock on their door, and their rights are going to be violated, and they're going to be dragged away. And Tom Homan will be the first one in line. He's admitted it. We don't only racially profile people. Notice no one can answer the question. You notice nobody can literally answer that question. How do you know if someone is undocumented? How do you know? They've got ways. How? Other than profiling. Guys are ridiculous. Hang on one second. That's crazy. I'm just thinking about that interaction. Like I'm just thinking about that interaction. It's just, you have hatred for so many people, and you're trying to find excuses for just exactly. How do you know who to pull over in the first place? That's where I was trying to go to. How do you know who to pull over? How do you know this was targeting? This is racially profiling people. What's the number? 270, I think, U.S. citizens have been detained. I mean, where's the fucking line for you people? Where's the line? You just don't care. You hate brown people so much that this is your game? Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Morning, Steve. How's it going, buddy?
It's going all right. What's going on with you?
Not too much. I was listening as that man spoke, and I would I doubt he's still listening. I don't know if you booted him out or whatever, but like as a brown person, quote unquote, as he says, I would love to see him get the attention of an ICE officer and then plead the fifth, as he says, when that officer detains you. See how well that works out.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Your ass is going to jail if you plead the fifth to an ICE officer.
They just think that they're following the law. Like there's no, how ironic it is that suddenly law enforcement is on their side. I mean, give me a break.
Crazy, dude.
It's ridiculous. This is cult behavior, though, Chris.
I mean,
cult behavior.
I could see like from their playing devil's advocate, like their side for white people to say that kind of thing, but people of color to defend ICE or like Hispanic people is mind blowing to me. Just
crazy,
completely mind blowing.
I completely agree with you, friend. I really appreciate you jumping in today. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, dude. You too, man. Talk to you later.
Thanks, buddy. Talk to you later. See ya. Bye. It's such a wild flex. Like, why would you do that? Why would you go 10 toes down on something like that? Like, why? Of all things. Funny story. My son is with his girlfriend in Maine. I just got a text from him, and he went by in small world. His girlfriend's family lives like a half a mile from where myself and his mom and I, when we were married, lived. In fact, my daughter was born in Maine, and he's like, he went by the house and he took pictures, and I just saw the text. I'm like, holy shit, time flies. It's a long time ago. It was a long ass time ago. All right, I got a note to check this. Hang on one second. Heather, thank you so much. You're very kind. Thank you for all I do. Thank you, Heather, for saying that. That's very kind. Thank you to Michelle, to Caitlin. Thank you, Caitlin. You're very kind. Caitlin said, for the Thanksgiving grift, I appreciate the knowledge that you impart. Thank you for saying that. That's very sweet. You guys are awesome. Filling my heart today. Robert, thank you for your kind contribution. Your TikToks make a difference, sir. Thank you, Robert, for saying that. LaShawn, thank you for being you, because it's fucking amazing. Thank you. That's very kind. You guys are awesome. I appreciate y'all very, very much. There's $25 left. You guys are great. As the grift continues, right, MAGA? Happy thanks grifting. Exactly. Appreciate you guys. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Stephen, and happy Thanksgiving.
You too, my friend. You too.
Now, what you should have said to Carlos is the difference between the cartels and ICE is the cartels are a criminal organization acting like a criminal organization. ICE is alleged law enforcement organization acting like a criminal organization.
It's a good point. I like that argument for the future. I'm going to put that one away. I love that.
Now, without getting into what I did for a living, so I worked directly with the state police. I dealt with pretty much any law enforcement agency at one time or another that you could think of. I dealt with the Secret Service, FBI. I worked directly with the state police, Boston Police Sheriff's Department. None of them wore masks. None of them ran around with masks. They dealt with a lot worse people than ICE is dealing with. So this is all, these are all a bunch of wannabes. These are all guys. Remember, whoever's working for ICE now are guys who actually couldn't get on a real police force. That's who it is. They're either washouts. They either got fired from the police forces they worked for because they were too violent, or they just couldn't pass. So that's who they're putting out there.
Correct. And they lowered the standards, like they just recently lowered the standards again.
Yeah, right? They keep lowering the standards because nobody wants to do this. This isn't about getting the worst of the worst out, because nobody's against that. If there's someone who's a criminal and they're undocumented, try them, put them in jail, and then ship them out. No one has a problem with that. And every administration before this did this. They're just grabbing anybody. They got the brown paper bag test, and they're looking, ooh, that's color. Let's go grab them. And that's exactly what they're doing. Another thing Carlos failed to mention when he was going on about the woman in Chicago is the judge pulled the head of ICE, who was the head of operations in Chicago, and keeps bringing him back because he keeps lying under oath.
Correct.
So
what's that guy's name? I can't think of. I know you're talking about that.
I can't think of it either, but he's been exonerated by the judge multiple times.
Yeah, he's been admonished by the judge numerous times. Bovino. Yeah, Bovino, exactly.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's true. It's a good point. The case was dismissed, and ICE is still trying to double down, even though we saw the footage. We saw the video.
Well, that's the thing. Even when they lose, they won't give up. It's like, look at Garcia. He's willing to go to Costa Rica, and they say no. We want to send him. Where do they want to send him? Nigeria? Or someplace like that?
Yeah, a perfect stranger just brings up a great point. The same fucking people refused to wear a mask during C-19 are totally fine wearing a mask now. It's a great point.
Exactly.
Point.
But one last quick point, what people should really watch is the special election in Tennessee on the 2nd. Mm-hmm. If the Democrats somehow flip that, or it gets very close, watch a mass retirement from the Republicans in Congress happen after January.
I think you might see that anyway. You're right about that.
I think that'll push it over the top, because that'll really show that being connected to Trump is not good.
Completely agree.
So,
thank you, my friend, for everything. I'm grateful for you.
You and your family, you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too, my friend. Take care of yourself.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right, bye. He's right. And I'm speaking of that, I'm going to play some sound real quick from Caroline, just as a reminder about policy and prices. I'm going to get back and talk about ICE a little bit more, but I want to take a quick little break. So here's Caroline. She's from New Hampshire.
Stated he is never satisfied.
For example, President Trump's policies are working to make Americans' Thanksgiving more affordable this year, from their commute to the dinner table. Nearly 100 million Americans are expected to drive next week to spend time with loved ones for the holiday. And thanks to President Trump's drill baby drill agenda, the national average price of a gallon of gas on Thanksgiving Day is projected to be at the cheapest price since the COVID pandemic in 2021. President Trump is bringing down gas prices and providing significant savings to American families at the pump. And again, we expect those prices to continue to decline. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation's annual survey, cooking Thanksgiving dinner will also cost less this year than it did last year and is down about 5% overall. The average price for a staple of the meal, a 16-pound frozen turkey, is down more than 16% from last year, which will provide critical savings for families in their budgets. President Trump's entire economic agenda is aimed at putting more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans. That's why he signed the largest middle tax cuts in history into law, from no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, to no tax on Social Security. And according to a new study from Piper Sandler, which is out this week, tax filers can expect an extra $1,000 bump to their tax refund next year, and what could be a record-breaking tax refund season.
I mean, come on, Caroline. All you do is fucking lie all day, every day. And, you know, I don't know if we have any history of a press secretary being brought before Congress, but I would love to see her have to answer questions. I'd love that. I don't know if you guys heard this story, but this is from Bloomington, Minnesota. More than a dozen men have been arrested after trying to solicit a minor for schmecks in Bloomington. According to Bloomington police officials, Police Chief Booker Hodges, officers started a 3-day sting on November the 5th. They used several methods to find people who were attempting to solicit a 17-year-old girl. In all, police arrested 16 men. Do you know what? ICE employees were part of that. So, Carlos, probably wouldn't want to comment on that, would you, Carlos? One of the men is an employee for ICE. Shocker, right? This is what we're talking about. Masked thugs. Do I have any evidence of that? Yes, I do. Masked thugs wearing masks. Nice, right? Nice. But I'm sure there's nothing to see here, right? Because you believe that federal law enforcement are following the law, which is why they've been getting slammed across the board for violations of people's constitutional rights. But you don't care. Why is that? Why is that? Do you hate yourself so much that you're going to support this kind of stuff? And to Chris's point, or to Drew's point, I forgot who said it exactly, but go ahead, take the 5th in front of an ICE agent, see what happens. Because we've watched what happens. You just don't want to see it. So it's really unfortunate for you. Really unfortunate. But that's why we're here talking about it. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. What's going on?
It's been a good live.
Thank you.
That guy that you were talking to that just wouldn't shut up.
Yeah, that guy.
I think there is a group probably associated with Turning Point and probably being paid to go around on TikTok lives and do exactly what this guy did today.
Of course.
Because he was on here twice under two different profiles.
I know. Yep.
Just
that's their game.
And they won't stop.
Well, no, we're smarter than they are, Heather. that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're smarter, you know, and we'll expose their bullshit all day, every day. That's the point.
Yeah. But that's just a theory that these guys are, they're like being coached and everything.
Yeah, well, they need to get better coaches because they suck at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to carry on a conversation.
They definitely don't. I always thank you for your support, Heather. I mean, you're here often, and I really appreciate you being part of our little family. So I hope you have a good Thanksgiving Day with your family.
You too. Thank you. Well, I know you're by yourself, but all right.
Yeah, but I'm good though. But thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it. Bye. Yes, I am, but don't worry about me. Okay. Let me go over here and grab. Oh, it's Fee. I haven't seen Fee in a while.
Hey there.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm doing. That's what my Aunt Joan always used to say.
I'm doing.
I'm doing. So it means we're still going. And even though she and my mom and Lot are gone, I wanted to. I'm really thankful for when I can catch you and listen to you. And I've been trying to protect my mental health, which I think a lot of people are trying to do this year. So getting news from you or updates without constantly having to watch television, although I do both, I've found reading my news much easier and less emotional for me than watching it. So I wanted to thank you and your community. They're always kind. You're always willing to talk to somebody who's willing to be real. And as somebody said, I don't think you take your flowers very often. So today, in a day that we can be thankful, I'm lucky. I have my daughter here who, when I say daughter, we don't have biological children, but we hosted 7 exchange students from all over the world. And our Ava was educated here after she went back and finished high school in China, but she came back and got educated here. She just graduated in May from Columbia University with her master's degree. And she called me a couple of weeks ago crying because she heard they might cancel the program she's on, which if you're a STEM student and with a master's degree, you have 3 years to find a job and work. And these are the immigrants we want, right? Highly intelligent, they paid full tuition, and they want to stay. She has a job. And I'm so thankful we have her this Thanksgiving, but I don't know that we will next Thanksgiving. All because of one man's, I guess, obliteration of immigration. So it's happening to legal immigrants too. And so while we're being thankful for what we have, I continue for any of you that open your hearts and minds to exchange students or know them, try to support them because right now they're really, really struggling. So that's it.
I love that.
I'm grateful, thankful, and I wish you the happiest of holiday seasons.
Thank you, friend. Same to you. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here. All right. Have a good day. Be safe. I love stories like that. I really, really love stories like that. I'm taking my flowers, friends. And I do need to wrap, but I just wanted to just take a brief moment just to, like we started the show with today, right? There's things that, yes, Kipper's here. Kipper's definitely here. He's always here. It's just really, really, really important. I know it's tough out there. I get it. I know there's a lot of fear, and rightly so. And there's a lot of people that are struggling for a variety of reasons. We can never lose sight of what it is that we are fighting for, right? We are fighting for human rights. We are fighting for decency. We are fighting for people to get their due process protections. We're fighting for health care. We're fighting for people to have decency and dignity. We're fighting for the rights of others. We're fighting for the rights and the recognition of marginalized communities. For women to have access to rights to their body, of all things. For Black and brown people to not be diminished in our society. For the poor and for the impoverished and for every marginalized group out there, able-bodied and all. That's what we're fighting for. That's the things that I'm going to be grateful for today, because I know that there's many of us, millions of us, that believe in the same thing. This community, I was humble with my mod team this morning. I sent little notes before we started our show, and it's just, you all don't know how much you mean to me, because I'm a purpose-driven individual. I've always been, what am I doing and what am I doing it for? I've always been driven by purpose. That's what fuels me every single day. And I feel like this is my purpose to do this. You know, I've got experience behind a microphone in my life. I know politics. I know where my moral compass is pointing. I feel it's like it's my duty, and I feel like it's my purpose. So you all fill me up every single day, and I could not be more grateful for that. So that's where my gratitude sits today, and that's good. That your gift is going to be in the center of my table, so to speak. Thank you all very, very much. We'll have a regular show tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I want to thank you, my mods. You guys are incredible. I love you all. Back here tomorrow. Likely going to have to still be on this app or this account. If you haven't followed us here, please do so. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, friends. Happy Thanksgiving. Be sure to get out there and do something. Take care of your friends. Take care of your neighbors.